who can't get enough cutesy characters, classic gameplay, and worlds of the past getting brand new entries and, more specifically, remakes. We got a bunch of Taiko games, including the once Japanese exclusive RPGs. Katamari got a remaster, Mr. Driller got a remaster. Pac-Man not only has a dedicated museum, but also a remake of World, that's pretty cool. But arguably the most important of all, Klonoa, with the Fantasy Reverie series, containing both Door to Phantomile and Lunatea's Veil, continuing the trend of giving these games titles that are kinda hard to pronounce when you first look at them. Now, one might look at these and say, okay, sure, a couple of old 2D platformers got a re-release. Is that really a big deal? Yes. How dare you ask something so stupid? This game is important. You may not think it, considering Bandai Namco did the bare minimum marketing when this game released, but it's important. I swear to God it's important. Klonoa is one of those franchises that just never took off the way that it rightfully deserved. It's been around for a long time, it's always had its vocal audience, but the character itself never really transcended and passed the threshold to become one of the great platformer icons that he very deservedly should be. It's not like there's a shortage of Klonoa adventures to go on, that couldn't be any further from the truth. You see, with the release of the Fantasy Reverie series, I think many people just assumed this was a 1-2 combo pack of a franchise that just happened to die immediately after, during the PS2 era, but no. Look at this ugly abomination we almost got in the late 2000s. This series took a bunch of weird turns that led us to where we are today. We got those two grand story-based platformers on console, but we also got portable adventures with a totally different platformer style, one of which was on the damn WonderSwan, a console I'm convinced 90% of you have likely not heard of until now. The GBA also got a proper action RPG, that's kinda crazy, and there's beach volleyball too. Okay, so it's not a perfect franchise, but... And the best part, there is no better time to be a Klonoa fan than right now. The WonderSwan game, Moonlight Museum, and the RPG, Legendary Star Medal, they never released outside of Japan for their original releases, but amazingly, like right after the Fantasy Reverie series got revealed, bam! Both of them got full-on English fan translations. Hell yeah. Now, sure, if you want to be nitpicky, it would have been nice for Namco to include these with the rest of the games in the new Fantasy Reverie series release, considering their special anniversary bumper for the trailers does show all of the games. Not sure why they couldn't have thrown in a couple of extra ROMs into the collection, but whatever. Emulation is truly the only way to experience any franchise in its fullest anyway. Now is not the time to be upset about what could have been, because Klonoa is back, baby. It is time to celebrate. Namco did provide a review copy for the PC version of the game, which I definitely appreciate, but even still, I went and bought the Switch version. Couldn't help myself. I have to make sure this game succeeds, okay? By now, you can clearly tell that I'm going to be recommending the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series on whatever console you want. Buy it once, twice, 3 times, I quite frankly don't care. As long as you play it, you're gonna have a great time. But, since you're here, well, let's talk about the whole series. Klonoa's esteemed history mostly takes place between the years 1997 and 2002, a fairly brief lifespan all things considered. Throughout this time is where all of Klonoa's unique adventures can be found. After that, well, that's when our little long-eared flying rabbit-cat hybrid thing was basically in a free fall of broken dreams and a Wii game that I guess will remain a nightmare in Namco's history. They almost got rid of my boy's Pac-Man hat. Yes, that was gonna be the key to success. What do you mean? But during those times when he was initially relevant, things were great. From the mind of Hideo Yoshizawa, the primary director behind the Ninja Gaiden trilogy on NES, Klonoa entered the scene on the PlayStation 1 with Door to Phantomile. And simply knowing that the same person is basically responsible for both Ninja Gaiden and Klonoa just proves that the world is a funny place sometimes. So sit back, relax, and prepare your loudest wahoo. It's time to go over everybody's favorite Alpine Racer 3 character, Klonoa. For a platformer, of course, what's most important is how it plays, and mechanically speaking, these games are fine. The framework that began with this game is more or less what we have for the rest of the franchise. We have slower platforming, a bunch of shiny things to collect, with just a couple of special shiny things to collect on top of that, and you hold a wind ring that allows you to grab enemies, inflate them at will, and keep them in eternal pain and suffering and a constant spin above your head, and then you can use them as a means to a double jump or a projectile that you can throw in any direction, even in the foreground and background in the case of the console games. It's pretty good. He smiled, but on the inside, he hurt. These aren't difficult adventures either, but the entire enemy inflation idea, really hate saying that out loud, really lends itself to clever platforming with opportunities to jump seemingly endlessly as long as you're able to grab the enemies placed properly along the way. These games miss no opportunity to challenge you every now and then for your proper jumping. Especially if you go for the 6 captured natives in every level, they often are perfectly in eyesight, but are just a matter of testing your platforming skills and reflexes to get them. It's great stuff. However, for Klonoa, it is all about how those levels are laid out. Side-scrolling platforming in a 3-dimensional world. Being able to interact with the foreground and background sound like such a throwaway thing, but amazingly enough, in all of the time since Klonoa's debut, no other platformer series has attempted to replicate and build off of this idea. I mean, Kirby 64, kinda. And there have been plenty of multi-layered standard stages in games like Mutant Mudds or something like that, but this aesthetic is still all Klonoa, baby. I love how basically all of the boss fights in this game take advantage of the 3D space that you're in. It makes for such unique encounters. Again, not difficult, but so memorable. And what an aesthetic it is overall, man. Sure, it's on old and archaic hardware, fine, whatever, shut up. Having these super crisp 2D sprites moving around this low poly 3D world, god, it's magical. Klonoa has some of the most expressive sprite work that I have ever seen that, despite being in a 3D space, fits in beautifully. And we got some sweet, crusty 90s CG cutscenes on top of that? Oh, you're speaking my language, Namco. Look at Klonoa's crazy teeth. But you gotta remember, this is the 90s. If you want to be successful, you have to be edgy. And magazine ads are all the rage, right? So let's take a trip on the Wayback Machine and see just what spicy magazine ads we can find for Klonoa. Quite possibly the only thing weirder than your sister. What? Meet Klonoa. He's wacky, he flaps his oversized when you team up with Klonoa. No one stands a chance, someone outside your family who's stranger. Well, I'm sold. But Susan, I have Klonoa. Hey baby, I want Klonoa. Is this a disease reference? Does she want a disease? I love that this whole time he's just floating around here in a bubble like, yo, you seeing this? Let's see, he's wacky, he flaps his oversized ears to fly, he kills his enemies by inflating their kills? Oh man, I miss the 90s. Blow up or shut up. What a tagline. To me, realistically, the biggest selling point of Klonoa is just, well, the entire idea behind him as a character. Established later on in the story and emphasized in later games, Klonoa is a dream traveler, off to save different dreamy worlds from the nightmares that inhabit them. This allows the worlds in the games that we travel through to be incredibly varied and whimsical, and dare I say dreamlike. Hey look, a reverse waterfall, how fun. Accompanied with just some fantastic music, by the way, and stories that actually get pretty dark. I mean, just looking at the start of the game, man, oh no, a plane crashed, I guess we'll go and see what's up. You cue the super happy music, the bright visuals, oh hey, a friend, Baloo. And then in level 2, we run through a lit up cave and get to ride a minecart. Great times, but then you finally scale the mountain and, my god, that's terrifying. And we're not gonna talk about spoilers here, but, obviously aesthetics are not the be-all and end-all, of course not, but with a style as strong as this first game, it should really come as no surprise why the Wii remake in 2008 failed to take off. I don't really mean that lightly, by the way. This Wii version sold terribly, reportedly selling less than 6,000 copies in its first week in Japan, my god. Not really sure what the sales are outside of Japan, but have you seen the commercials?
Get ready for an exciting adventure as you help Klonoa save Phantomile. Use the wind bullet to grab your enemies and wave your Wii remote to throw them. And sharpen your battle skills as you face more and more difficult challenges, so you can save the world of Phantomile.
Yeah, it probably sold pretty bad. I guess it kind of makes sense. You know, the Wii captured a casual market, and this was a time where games were getting revived like crazy. A Boy and His Blob, Knight's Journey of Dreams. Hell, that game is dream-based as well. Why not give Klonoa a shot? But once they considered changing his design and then reverted back to a more classic look due to massive fan outcry, you can tell something was a bit wrong. Because even then, sure, the design is more consistent, props for actually keeping the Pac-Man hat, but why is he so much taller and lankier now? Was trying to fit in with the current Sonic mold really the best idea? But if you try to look past that, it's not like the rest of the experience is that much better. The animations are a lot more stiff, the colors are really muted by comparison, Klonoa barely speaks now, Hupo mostly does the speaking for Klonoa, don't understand that part. And speaking of, they speak English now?
Whoa, wait a minute!
I'm Klonoa from Wind Village.
Oh god, that's disgusting. In the original, they spoke a unique gibberish language, Phantomilian, and it was totally fine. That's still an option here. Thankfully, that is the only way to go, but it is clear that they really had a lack of confidence in a lot of the charm the original provided with all of these changes. And it's nothing personal against the guy behind the voice, Eric Stitt, but his portfolio just consists of this and Chick Hicks from Cars? Okay, that's hilarious. But hey, at the very least, with a brand new release, Klonoa is made accessible once again. And if you're not directly comparing all of these versions together, then this is okay. The core adventure is still here, nothing is outwardly broken, it is a functional alternative. Plus, fun fact, certain copies of the game would even include a certificate for a free taco at Wahoo's Tacos. I can't believe this game didn't sell 10 Phantomillion copies. What's nice though is there are some extra challenge stages too. You see, there's this extra level once you beat the game called Baloo's Tower. It's a pretty solid challenge stage. This was in the original PS1 game, thankfully it showed up in the remake, but that's not the only challenge stage in the Wii version. Exclusive to the mirror mode, that's really strange, you can find these portals that will bring you to very, very short challenge areas. Sure, why not? I feel like this feature wasn't advertised, but it's here. And you can tell that like nobody really played the Wii version all that much because I didn't even know it was there, and I had this game since launch. Even weirder, these stages are nowhere to be found in the recent Fantasy Reverie series release. The mirror mode is not in that game, so, these stages are exclusive. That's... sure. And yeah, if you didn't figure it out by now, the Wii game is what would go on to be enhanced for the newer release. It's not a new remake, it is just the Wii version with some new textures. Just watching how the cutscenes play out, it is clear that the skeleton of this version is that of the 2008 version. But thank the stars, the art style, the character models, they have all been reworked to fit closer to the original vision. It is so much better. Klonoa is shorter and more adorable, the colors are a lot more vibrant, really showing just how damn muted the Wii version was, and your buddy Hugh-Pow, he has his hands back. Why did they remove them in the first place? Art style preference is clearly subjective, I get that, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a dramatic improvement. You don't even have the option for the English voice acting anymore, it is just the gibberish. That whole Wii game has been obliterated out of existence, and it is probably for the best. The dialogue also includes a lot more lines for Klonoa to speak, so thankfully he's not like a kind of mute like they made him in the Wii game. That was just such a weird thing. I will say though, I do still think the original PS1 game does a better job conveying charm and personality, especially in the CG cutscenes, because it's not like this new version had these sweeping quality of life improvements that make the original obsolete. They are both totally fine. It would have been nice if the PS1 version was unlockable or something, but hey, enough effort was made to fix the errors of the Wii version, and I can commend that. But I guess that's what the pixel filter they implemented was trying to replicate. It looks terrible. Also, for some reason, the opening jingle doesn't seem to be timed well on the PC version. Terrible game, actually. But yeah, like I said before, those extra challenge stages, those are gone because that old mirror mode is also gone. They are probably in the code somewhere, so it's probably possible to access them in the PC version with a mod or something, but thankfully, you're not really missing much with that exclusion. Whether or not this is the definitive version of the game is entirely up to you, but having it be the most accessible version, I am totally okay with that. And besides, this is still a much easier sell because, of course, you also get Klonoa 2, Lunatea's Veil, included as well. For reasons I refuse to elaborate on because I will start to cry, Klonoa finds himself in a brand new dream world, that of Lunatea. And things seem a lot grander in scope compared to the Phantom Isle of before, right out of the gate. While the previous adventure had a few main landscapes with a couple of levels each, now we have a large set of kingdoms to explore that are all spread across a big world map in a more immersive way than simply having level 1-1, 1-2, and so on. But of course, the land is in danger, and it's up to Klonoa to save the day. I mean, look at these fights in comparison to the previous game's fights. So much grander, all of them. I'm probably a broken record at this point hyping these games up, taking advantage of the 3D space, but it is still so damn cool. And replacing the adorable Hugh-Pow as our friend on this journey, we have the combo of Lolo, a priestess in training, and Popka, her dog-like thing, companion. We also now have rivals constantly on our trail with Leorina, a sky pirate looking to gain power using Klonoa's sky ring, and Tat, their cat-like companion that can split into two. This is coming off of the more menacing Ghadius and the loud-mouthed Joka from Klonoa 1, and what I'm getting at is the plot and its cast are a lot more compelling this time around. It's really, really good. All of the interactions and cutscenes in the first one were certainly charming and filled with emotion, but Klonoa 2 just exudes a whole lot more personality and life, and it focuses on a plot that tells a very strong and surprisingly relatable moral plot with Lolo's path to becoming priestess. Klonoa 1's story certainly goes some pretty crazy places, but 2's plot, I would go as far as to say, is flat out excellent. And that same mentality can be applied to the entire game. Like, mechanically, it's the same. Side-scrolling in full 3D environments, you got the patented and equally terrifying enemy inflation, the perfect amount of platforming challenge and puzzle solving, but everything is simply elevated in many different ways. You got a bunch of new enemy types that open up way more possibilities, like these flying ones that shoot you off into the sky, or these light gem ones. I really like these. They require you to chain multiple enemies in a set way to progress. Those are really fun. And the landscapes are much more energetic as well, platforming through cities in the middle of destruction, massive factories with new obstacles around every corner, an amusement park. Not enough platformers have amusement park stages. I will carry this claim until the day I die. Some of these areas do kinda overstay their welcome with more labyrinthian designs that take a very long time to complete, but in general, Klonoa 2 takes the same design philosophy as the first game, but expands it dramatically in a way that is still impressive to this day, with a great story tying everything together. Lunatea's Veil is simply an incredible experience, and I'm really trying to not spoil anything here because that is a crucial part of why this game is so good. But dude, we also got hoverboard stages, and maybe I'm simple-minded, but this is enough to get a rise out of me. I love these. For both games included in the Fantasy Reverie series, I am actively keeping things vague because they are totally adventures that are worth experiencing with relatively limited knowledge. Just know that they are really fun platformers, maybe not the greatest platformers you've ever played, but all things considered, they are kind of the perfect package. Creative landscapes, fun mechanics, compelling stories, great cast of characters, not lengthy or particularly difficult, but certainly really memorable ones. And I can confidently say that while I may prefer, once again, the PS1 version of Klonoa 1, the Fantasy Reverie series is the best way nowadays to experience these titles. You even get some nice costumes to play around with. You can swap outfits between the two games' main styles, as well as rock a Pac-Man helmet, a Taiko mask, even a Katamari Prince hat. That is awesome. Not really sure why they couldn't get stable camera shots for the costume select screen. This upsets me way more than it should, but otherwise, fantastic package. But yes, again, you didn't need me to tell you this, but go and play the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. You're gonna have a great time, and you're going to be partially responsible for keeping this cat-rabbit thing alive. And then you should play the rest of the games. Listen, the console games are good, very good even, but we can't pretend as if the handheld trilogy doesn't also exist, and they're also very good. And yes, I said trilogy. Empire of Dreams and Dream Champ Tournament, both for the Game Boy Advance, and their predecessor, Moonlight Museum, for the friggin' WonderSwan. It's my first time talking about the WonderSwan on this channel. I am very excited. You likely haven't played, let alone heard, of anything WonderSwan related in the past. That's fair. It was a nifty little handheld in Japan from Bandai of all companies. It had monochrome graphics, it provided super simple games that are Game Boy equivalent, and there would eventually be console upgrades with the WonderSwan Color and the Swan Crystal, which provided some more advanced titles. But what's really cool is these consoles had this quirky little feature where you could rotate it 90 degrees and suddenly have a more vertical view without really risking any play control since, hey, we had that extra set of buttons there this entire time. The console gave us early ports of some of the Final Fantasy games, there's Pocket Fighter, 2 exclusive Mega Man side-scrollers, that's weird. This console is an anomaly, man. And yes, of course, it is the home of a, perfectly fine Klonoa game too. These handheld versions take a slightly different approach to the console games. Mechanically, it is exactly as you would expect, but rather than platforming in these typical linear stages that all try to tell a story as you're playing through them, the portable games are more of a puzzle platformer. Limited collectibles, finding keys to unlock doors, clearly no 3D world for impressive camera angles, and little to no intense platforming to be done here when you're trying to just nail jumps like you do on the console games. It's nice, it's condensed, it does a really good job accomplishing what it set out to do. Plus, for that WonderSwan game, we have some of that screen orientation shifting thing like I said before, and that's just kinda neat. Probably not the most engaging experience by today's standards, but it's still neat that something like this was done in the late 90s. There is also a story that ties things together where Klonoa and Hugh set out to restore the moon that's been broken into fragments near, of course, the Moonlight Museum, and it is super cool that these now have a full English fan translation, but it's not really needed for this game. You can go into the Japanese version just fine and have a totally perfect experience. If you have any sort of interest in the world of niche retro consoles, definitely check this out. The level design is not mind-blowing, but as a piece of history, this is definitely one to keep your eyes on. But in terms of accessibility, definitely shift your focus more towards the 2 adventures on the GBA. I'm gonna be honest here, catch me on a different day, you might hear me talking about how these GBA games may actually be a bit better than the console ones. These are fantastic. Something about that puzzle platformer idea, now with a much more vibrant art style, we have polished mechanics, snappy and atmospheric music that sound great despite coming off of the really crusty GBA speaker. The dreamlike world still feels so immersive despite being on weaker hardware. When it comes to platformers on this handheld, I would argue that you really can't do much better than these. What else you got? You got Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Pinobi, Klonoa all the way. Now, in their own bubble, both of these games are fairly indistinguishable from each other. You have some gimmicks and enemy types that you can find in Dream Champ Tournament that you won't find in Empire of Dreams, but in general, you do get a pretty similar experience that would only be annoying if they weren't so damn satisfying to play through. I adore these games so much. Like the airboard from Klonoa 2 shows up in both games, but while we essentially have this auto-running segment in Empire of Dreams, we have these fancy behind the back stages in Dream Champ Tournament. Really cool. These are also titles with auto-scrolling levels that are actually really well designed. And if that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what does. I hate that trope in most every other game. Plot-wise, the timelines are a little funky here, like having Klonoa 2 Klonoa hanging around Hupo in Empire of Dreams. Kinda strange. Joka is a competitor in the Dream Champ Tournament. Okay. Neither Hupao or Lola are powering up your ring in that same game, despite it being established in the console games that you need help from at least one of them to get that power. Whatever, I guess. Some of these characters' inclusions do feel more fanservice-y than anything substantial, but I guess that's kind of nitpicking. The presentations in these games are stellar, all things considered. I am much more interested in the fact that some of these large-scale boss fights are actually doing these really cool things with sprite scaling and stuff. It made the games feel big while still being really small. That's commendable. There are surprisingly well-animated cutscenes for GBA standards too. I can nitpick some of those earlier things all I want, but I'm just in awe of what we got here. This is not what I would expect from this console for this genre. The second game in particular introduces a brand new character with Gunts, or Gantz, whatever, that name seems interchangeable, who is a pretty good rival for Klonoa and has an actual gun. Oh, watch out. I just love the world building that continued on with these games, even if timeline shenanigans are in play. If anything, we do have some frustrations, like regularly restarting the float board levels if you miss one of the dream gems. That can get kind of annoying because it is highly likely. Or the special suit for some of the water levels in Dream Champ Tournament, which, sure, the art looks really cool, but you traverse slightly slower than in the other levels, and that's never a good thing. But really, at the end of the day, you have 2 stellar puzzle platformers here, and it is pretty upsetting that they couldn't just throw these into the Fantasy Reverie series release just to cover all of their bases. I want more people to play these games. So, however you get your hands on these games, these titles are highly recommended. But then, well, then things get a little weird. Clearly, by this point, Bandai Namco, they must have been getting desperate. Sadly, it didn't really matter if the games were as good as they were, and once again, very, very good, they simply weren't all that successful in the marketplace. 2 platformers with a strong narrative on consoles, and 3 platformers on handhelds with a strong focus on puzzles. All great games. Unfortunately, these games just didn't sell all that well. What's to compel the company to keep going if not enough people care? Yes, beach volleyball. That'll change things. A sports spin-off that has zero relevance to the main games on the PlayStation 1 in 2002, roughly a year after the release of Lunatea's Veil on PS2, and will release it in Japan, Europe, and not America. Perfect? Oh well, let's make some weird changes to the logo too. That must help with the brand recognition, I guess? Maybe Namco saw Klonoa in World Kicks and figured, you know what, sports was the way to go. Definitely the natural order of events here. I just don't know why this exists. I mean, I guess as a game, it's fine. It's properly bright and colorful. It's kinda neat seeing low poly versions of Klonoa 2 characters and proper 3D forms of the Klonoa 1 characters, and even some of the Dream Champ Tournament characters like Gunts and Chipple. Oh yeah, he was a character in that game too. He's kinda cute. That's cool. And I guess it plays fine. I mean, it's volleyball, but the only quirk is you have this special move that only works when it feels like it, but you have to nail shots on the opposing side in specific parts, and then you can accumulate like a powered up super shot, and you can pull it off whenever you want, but I feel like I do it, and then I can't hit the ball. I don't know, it's weird. I went through the tutorial and it's just weird. Ultimately, there's not much to get out of this nowadays. It's just funny to know that this exists. At least they could have done a racing game or something. That would have made more sense. You got the hoverboard races in Klonoa 2. They could have just put every character on a hoverboard. They put Klonoa in MotoGP. I mean, hey, the idea must have crossed their mind then. 2002 was basically just the company's last-ditch effort to get something out of this franchise, because this was the year that not only did we get beach volleyball, but we also got Dream Champ Tournament in Japan, which is insane to think about actually, because it took 3 years to get it localized. Okay. But this was also where we got the final original adventure that Klonoa has been on to date. Klonoa Heroes Legendary Star Medal, an action RPG. Well, this is certainly something. Once again, timeline shenanigans ensue, but don't even worry about the continuity at this point. Klonoa, along with his friends, popping up from both Lunatea's Veil and Dream Champ Tournament, go on an adventure to become a hero, as well as take down the evil Garland and save the day, because, of course. And you're not alone on this adventure either in terms of playability. You are also joined by the returning Guns with, once again, Guns in tow, and newcomer Pango the Pangolin, incredible name, the local bomb expert. And that little bit of variety really helps because, yeah, we're not a side-scrolling platformer anymore. Level progression is similar though. We got multiple worlds to go through with a handful of levels each, but now you progress through them as a top-down action RPG, and it's kinda weird, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of Klonoa's DNA is still all over this. You got a great graphical style, nice music, lovable cast of characters, the whole 9 yards. And this time, Klonoa has a sword. That's kinda cool. And the story's even pretty good, you would hope so, since we've evolved from a 3 to 5 hour platformer to a close to 20-hour RPG, but credit where it's due, it is a nice time. Every time the characters are on screen, I'm enjoying scrolling through those text boxes. I just don't really think that this more dungeon crawling, more combat focused gameplay style really clicked for me in this world, even though what's here, it is pretty polished. It's just not really for me. There are plenty of options to level up your characters, balancing the main gameplay with running into town to help townsfolk, that's pretty neat. And even though the combat feels fine, the overall structure is just pretty repetitive in my eyes. I also am not really a fan of how the screen is set up, with everything taking place in this main square with the right side of the screen permanently blocked off with stats and a portrait. Don't like that. I mostly appreciate this game as the cute little black sheep in the series that it is. I always love seeing a franchise try something new, so under that context, sure, I would still recommend it. This is where the benefit of the fan translation comes in, because until recently, this was the least accessible game in this franchise. That is no longer an issue. So even though I am not that huge into this game, it is definitely worth experiencing just to see every Klonoa adventure to their fullest. And hey, you may like it, you never know. Once again, Klonoa has a sword in this one. That's sick. Drop a wahoo in the chat if you agree. But yeah, as far as Klonoa is concerned, that's it. A handful of really great games that unfortunately just didn't have enough support to be as big of a deal nowadays as they really should be. You know, surprisingly enough, the Japanese exclusive Namco x Capcom that released in 2005 wasn't enough to build up interest. Look, he's in the corner, do you see him? Probably not until I pointed it out. There was also an official webcomic that was made in the mid-2010s, which was certainly cool, if not totally random. But yeah, of course, that was incredibly short-lived too, because who cares? We wanted more games, not a bunch of PNGs. Really great stuff. I don't deny it, but when the franchise is dead, this really wasn't going to do anything. And that is why the release of the Fantasy Reverie series is so important. Many games across many franchises have released over the years that have acted as a sort of last-ditch effort for relevancy. We got disasters like Star Fox Zero and Chibi Robo Ziplash, who knows if we'll ever see those franchises again, but we also got massive successes that led to brand new adventures, like Crash Bandicoot, SpongeBob with Battle for Bikini Bottom, and Fire Emblem. This is Klonoa's time to break the curse and finally get the appreciation that he deserves. And one can only hope that things do not stop here, because then we're going to get another port of Klonoa 1 in 10 years, and I do not want to make the same video again when that happens. So the moral of the story is play more Klonoa. That's it. There's no funny joke at the very end. This is a very serious topic. I would never joke around about anything that's weirder than your sister. Going through the eShops one final time for both the 3DS and Wii U really brought back some nostalgic memories. I used to frequent these shops so much while these consoles were active. I mean, they both had actual theme songs for the shopping experience. I couldn't help myself. It's a lot more welcoming than... Hooray, capitalism, yahoo, let's go. The 3DS was such a haven for indies and virtual console games, I never wanted to miss anything when they were dropping. Every single game had a unique banner with some screenshots, sometimes a trailer if you were lucky, and hey, maybe you'd find a classic gem that you missed out on from generations gone by. Like this one here, Lufia the Legend Returns. Let's see here, every game has 3 screenshots to try and sell the game. Let's see what we got here. She's alright, she just inhaled too much smoke. Oh, finally, the perfect game for me. Plus, it's thanks to this console that I got to watch Dinosaur Office, and that was pretty peak, let's be real. Dinosaur Office! Brah! The Wii U, by comparison, obviously had a much smaller library, but I would argue that this eShop was a lot more fun to explore, and made it all that much better whenever something good did show up. Listen, okay, in no universe is Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars a super exciting release, but there was nothing else around it at the time, and hey, look at that. It has graphics, I'll buy it, sure. There was also this one time for E3 where Nintendo released a bunch of demos for indie games that were released at the time. Like, no big deal in retrospect, but this is how I first played Freedom Planet all those years ago, so I'll always be nostalgic for that. That was a pretty cool program. I'm pretty sure that a lot less heavy hitter proper Wii U games is what pushed Nintendo to keep doing the Virtual Console on that system for a little while longer, but hey man, seeing GBA, DS, and even Wii games on there was pretty damn cool. Dude, they got Pocky and Rocky with Becky on this? Dude. Oh, man, us Wii U fans were really starving, okay? Man, you remember how, like, you could search for 3DS games on the Wii U eShop but not purchase them? What the hell was this company doing? Remember how stupid Wii Sports Club was handled? Sure, nowadays with a physical copy, it is very easy to get a full complete game out of this, and when you do, you got a somewhat decent HD remaster of the original Wii Sports. It's fine. Whatever. It's a dumb call after Wii Sports Resort expanded on that idea greatly, and it was actually a great minigame collection instead of just a bare bones 5 minigame sport pack, but hey, whatever, it is what it is, I'm not mad about it. Club included online play. Not like you'd really know about it because who was playing Wii Sports Club in the 2010s online, but hey, it was there. The thing is though, when the game first dropped, there was no physical edition and only 2 of the sports were available digitally and individually. They would cost you about $10 each for a single pass that you can access the game whenever you want going forward, but you could also like rent the game for a day for $2? Huh? It really took a disgusting amount of time for Nintendo to figure out this whole digital distribution thing, and it's a shame that a Wii Sports sequel was essentially sacrificed along the way. Good to know Nintendo has since learned their lesson and wouldn't do anything stupid like this again. Oh, damn it. Now I could sit here and do the whole, these are the hidden gems that you should have picked up when you had the chance. I could have done that whole thing, but you've seen that a bunch by now. I'm not gonna do that. If you know me at all, you know that I am way more interested in the games that Nintendo even dared to allow on their eShops in the first place, because, oh man. Listen, first and foremost, not to belittle the difficulties of game development. I'm not trying to make that whole thing seem like a big old joke, and if any developers out there are watching this, I'm sorry to put you on blast, but you know some of this, you kind of did it to yourself. Besides, it's not like I'm affecting sales anyway. Yell at Nintendo for closing the eShops, not me. I'm not affecting nothing. You can't buy these games now anyway. And also, let's continue to be real. These games aren't really gone if you try hard enough. Listen, it's surprisingly easy to mod a Nintendo 3DS, that's all I'm saying. The act of supporting games that are readily available by purchasing them is something I am totally in favor of. I was doing it all the time, I continue to do so. It's my favorite way to support the developers putting out games that I want to play. But that being said, PDI check was $100. What the f? Oh, come on, that's not even the right console. PDI check in collaboration with the Alaska Children's Eye and Strabismus. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Strabismus. This is the title screen. Okay, I thought like the graphics were still loading here, but nope, this is it. Start. Click the one that's different, I guess. Success, okay. What? Okay, maybe I just have to do a different challenge. Okay, the test wins. I genuinely can't tell what the difference is here. Try again. What am I supposed to do? Which color is different? You know what? I think Alaska wins. I'm not gonna succeed Alaska's test, I'm sorry. Eventually, I just had to keep clicking on random things so I could succeed on all of the tests and see what's happening at the end. And hey, look at that, nothing. $100? I'm not saying that video game software can't double as a genuine tool. I am a big fan of Brain Age, and the DS in general had loads of software like this, so as a tool meant for a doctor's office to provide something for multiple children to use, $100 theoretically is more than a reasonable price. But why is this on the 3DS eShop for personal use? None of you out there bought it. Unless you have a weird morbid curiosity and $100 to spare, you did not buy this, and if you did, you are lying. I don't trust you. My guy, over there at PDI Check, you have a website. This could have been handled with basic HTML. Maybe you should have tried again when you had the chance. This is a sin. The 3DS was this odd stretch of time where industry analysts, who always know what they're talking about, kept claiming that the rise of mobile gaming was going to be killing the entire dedicated handheld gaming space. And I mean, over 10 years on, they weren't entirely wrong, but still, for the few years that Nintendo tried proving them wrong with their top-tier retail games, they certainly put out some questionable digital ones at the same time. I got it. I got the perfect solution to fix declining sales. Nintendo says, filled with excitement and joy. Kersploosh.
It's called Kersploosh.
Kersploosh. In Kersploosh, you are a rock and you fall down a hole. That's it. Oh, sorry, you're not always a rock. Sometimes you're a bouncy ball. Sometimes you're a Matryoshka doll. Sometimes you're a water drop. Don't be the water drop. They all play slightly differently, with different handling and health amounts, and it's all about getting to the bottom of the well as fast as you can. And it's a completely dreadful experience. It is so hard to see where you're going, and then they start throwing in these fake donuts made of metal while encouraging you to go through the real donuts. Just pray to God you actually don't bounce off of them. Did they pick donuts because they were just so quirky and funny? Haha, it's so quirky and original. 20 minutes later and I did all the stupid stages and I'm done. Cool. This got a spot in a Nintendo Direct. Man, times were different. Thankfully though, unlike PDI Check, that one was pretty cheap, so whatever, I guess. But for the most part, any of the cheap games that you found on the eShop really felt like a lot of low quality garbage that you would see on phones nowadays. Azure Snake. It's Snake. You know, in case you want to bring your 3DS into math class instead of your TI-82 calculator. Angry Bunnies, a terrible Angry Birds clone on a console that already has Angry Birds on it, but if you were someone that just really liked the concept of Angry Birds and just couldn't stand birds and wanted to throw around mammals instead, and you preferred awful controls, you know what, maybe this game is for you. But if that is you, I deeply apologize. There was even a more expensive version on the Wii U if you were feeling especially feisty with your wallet that day. It's the same game, but it looks better. Cool. Oh, and hey, speaking of birds, Bird Mania 3D, one of those endless flyer and get as many points as possible type of games. You know what this is like. One of those you play the game for 60 milliseconds and you've experienced the entire thing kind of games, you know? It's one of those, but there is a story. Birds are flying south for the winter, and Mojo, your name is Mojo by the way, overslept. Doi, idiot. And now you have to catch up with everybody on your way to Africa because that's what birds do. All right, Mojo, let's go. He's dead now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess the game is fine, but it's just missing a theme. Like, I just wish there was some sort of cohesive theme that tied everything together that made me feel jolly. Like, maybe if it was Christmas themed. Oh my God. Dude, let's go! Birds are flying south for the, annual vacation to Africa this time. Okay, I can go with that. I guess the whole flying south for the winter thing, if we're already on December 25th here, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's the same game, just now there's snow. I love video games. I know it's crazy. I can't believe Nintendo would allow this game on the same eShop they had Mario Clock and Calculator on. What are the odds of that? Probably the most disappointing proper Nintendo release on the eShop is Chibi Robo Photo Finder, and trust me, it brings me no pleasure to say this. In this adventure, Chibi Robo is working with a museum curator to collect a bunch of nostalgunk, relics from the past. And since you can time travel, I guess, it's up to you to get the job done. What transpires then is a game all about throwing a bunch of shapes your way, and you gotta take pictures of items in the real world that fit in those outlines. And just pray to God the shoddy 3DS camera actually picks it up. If it was just that, this would be simply another pointless photo app right alongside Photos with Mario. Remember this thing? Of course you don't. There are actual mini-games though. Here's a shooting one, guess how long this ruler is, and I mean, hey, It's functional, but the time in between these minigames is just so long and damn tedious, and anytime you just run around, it makes me sad that this little robot never got the love that he deserved. Honestly, I'ma say it, Photo Finder is worse than Ziplash. It's not like either of them are good, but at least Ziplash is its own thing. Photo Finder shows the potential of this franchise on a handheld. It's in 3D for crying out loud, but it's just a 3DS gimmick showcase, and it doesn't even do a good job of that. And like I said, now I'm sad. I'm gonna go play some more 3D Classics Urban Champion to cheer myself up. I guess this one really shouldn't count since Garfield Kart did get a retail release. It's not eShop exclusive, but I think I would be a little bit too embarrassed to allow this game into my house, so I'm going digital with this one. Here we are. So it's a Mario Kart clone, obviously. Can it really be as bad as everyone says it? Yeah. Yes it is. So for one, no multiplayer. Because why would you want that? This game is too good for more than one person to handle at a time. Look at how excited Garfield is. This ain't Monday in his world. Oh, it's like a Friday in this world. Look at that smile. That's me. That's me excited to play this game right now. I want to die. Wow. It's truly remarkable how boring this game is. All of these tracks are just so barren and lifeless. Oh. Okay then. I'm not proud to admit that I played this game for more than a half hour, but hey, I needed a reason to reconsider my life choices anyway, so this helped with that. The items are incredibly unbalanced too. Like, Mario Kart has this formula down, so much so that you don't really even think about it. If you're behind, you have a stronger chance of getting better items to help even the score. Yes, it does add random chance into the equation, and it's not all skill-based, but it is for the best, because again, even playing field. If the game is just you holding the acceleration until you get to the end, that's not better. And why is this Garfield anyway? Why, of all franchise, the fat lasagna cat? Oh wow, it's a funny orange cat that hates Mondays and loves lasagna? Put him in a car. And why did they make a second one? Yeah, okay, yeah, Garfield Kart, really bad. What a surprise. Something new, please. Escape from Forest. Oh man. They couldn't even get the current score and max score counters to sync up. I am so tired. So in this one, you're automatically running forward and it's up to you to avoid the things, but what things are safe and which aren't, I don't know. I feel like I'm just running into these trees all the time, but I'm totally okay. God, next. Fat dragons. We out here body shaming dragons now? It's just Balloon Fight but with dragons. Okay, is the idea that you're so fat that you crush your enemies from the sheer weight being thrust onto their shoulders? I guess that's the case. The Magic Hammer. Immediately, I'm already kind of impressed. I mean, the game has a functional user interface. At this point, I'm stunned. Create your character. Yeah, that's me. Okay, speak to the village elder. Sure, I can do that. You know, right off the bat, it is quick to assume that this is some sort of Minecraft clone, but no. You ever play Dragon Quest Builders? It's more like that. A bit of an action-adventure game that just so happens to take place in a blocky world. It's been 10 seconds, and I'm already lost. I don't know where this stupid elder is. All these villagers just want to trade items. No one's telling me anything. There's no magic hammer in sight, so for one, I am very thrown off. Which one of you stupid blocky idiots is the elder? Oh god, okay, you, finally, I got lost. This whole village is like 2 square feet and I got lost, but okay, hello. Oh god, okay, finally, with the magic hammer in tow. Okay, now what? I am sad to report that I am back to not having a single idea of what to do. Guess I'll go brave the wilderness. Oh no, enemies, back off evil fiends and face my hammer. Huh, alright, that wasn't too bad. What is Crimson MacGuffin? Oh god! Okay. You know, I suddenly have this major urge to play Minecraft. I just really want to play Minecraft on the Nintendo 3DS, but all I have is this crappy old 3DS. It doesn't run on here. As for the new 3DS, I don't want to play this stupid thing. I want to play this stupid thing. If only there was some way we can meet in the middle here. Well, do I ever have the game for you. Am I finally going insane? Oh, this ain't your granddad's Cube Creator, it's Cube Creator 3D. Oh god, why? Of course, there's a Minecraft clone on this stupid console. It would be weirder if this didn't exist. You know, Minecraft did release on the 3DS, but it was that stupid, pesky new 3DS exclusive. There's only like 4 of these games, and you would only know about them because they put their stupid spine on the wrong side of the stupid case. What are us poor, stupid, original 3DS users gonna use? This, clearly, God, you know what? I really have no idea how they did this, but this is one of the worst feeling first-person games of all time. And it's here in the palm of my hands. It's all just so loose and floaty, and for the mining and or crafting, sure, whatever, you don't need to be precise, but combat? They want me to do combat with this? Oh, ha, okay. The worlds are incredibly tiny, the interface is clunky as all hell, you only get the very bare basics of blocks to work with here. Like, this is truly what happens when you ask your parents for Minecraft and they go, oh, we have Minecraft at home. This is Cube Creator 3D, Minecraft at home. Bit Dungeon Plus. This is the loudest title music of all time. The more times you play, the more ruins you will be able to unlock. Why is this the ugliest formatting of an 8-bit text of all time? You see, now this one is one of those randomly generated dungeon crawlers. You run into a room, you clear it out, you get the key, you move on until you die. There's just not really much more to it than that. There's like a bit of a choice regarding what stats get upgraded sometimes, but you're just mindlessly slashing at enemies and hoping for the best. I feel like there's something here, but everything about this one just seems off. Something you could sink your teeth into, not for the deepest experience of the world, of course, but something for good bite-sized fun. There's something about this that I'm just not digging, and then it turns out that the game actually released on basically every other console, and it looks way better. Like, it runs smoother, the pixels are a lot cleaner, the interface doesn't look like the bare minimum to pass your college game programming class. Dare I say, this game is kind of worth checking out on literally anything else. This 3DS version is terrible and you should feel bad for releasing it. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And now everybody, time for the 3DS main event. It's time for Kutar. Holy shit, they got Kutar in this? After an extensive 20-second research session, to come to find out that Kutar exists in Japan, and that's all the information I got. I can't tell if he's popular or not, but with 10 whole games on the 3DS eShop, oh man, he was certainly trying to be. Kutar Tube Rider. Okay, Kutar Magic Ball. Kutar Powder Factory. Oh, okay, yeah, this one is kinda like a game. What the f is Kutar? Man, all 10 of these games are like exactly the same. It's one Mario Party minigame stretched incredibly thin, you will eventually fail, and then Kutar goes, and that's it. What the hell is this? Kutar Quiz, at the very least, I had some high hopes for, like, okay, cool, a race to answer trivia. Got it, I can work with this, but it's not that. This guy asks you the same few questions in rotation over and over again, with the answer always being the same. Bank, Fuji, left, bank, Fuji, bank. Sometimes they hit you with the headphones, and then... I don't understand! I say we take Kutar and throw him into an open volcano. The 3DS is an incredible console, one of the best libraries of all time, and if you throw the original DS on top of that, like, it's unparalleled. It is a fantastic system with a bunch of classics from top to bottom. Which is all the more upsetting that they allowed so much crap onto this eShop because, oh my god. The Wii U, though, on the other hand, on this thing? Oh man, oh boy, you guys have no idea. One of the benefits of the 3DS's eShop is that naturally, because of the portable nature of the console as well as the 2-screen setup, a bulk of those games are genuinely exclusive and are now lost to the ether. Most of those experiences you cannot get anywhere else. On the flip side, luckily on the Wii U, a lot of those heavy hitters are on other consoles. Sure, some of the features may be different, but for a bulk of those games, you can play them on anything else, and that's good. Realistically, the biggest losses here boil down to like Affordable Space Adventures, Pushmo World, and Dr. Luigi. Dear God, I will never forget about Dr. Luigi and all he did for the medical world. And for a game like Meme Run, being able to slip through the cracks like that, God. The thing is though, it's not even like this game was only recently lost, it's been delisted since 2015 due to unlicensed use of the troll face, which A, is very appropriate given what this game is trying to be, and B, a funny way to learn that the troll face actually has a copyright attached to it. Great times all around, truly one of the games of all time. And yes, I know there's a sequel, and no, I'm not gonna play it. Another pretty iconic one during this era was The Letter, aka Shut Up Jimmy, we have Slender Man at home. And yep, it's bad alright. That 1 out of 10 review on Nintendo Life, they knew exactly what they were talking about. With how infamous this game was, I did expect it to be a little more offensive, but it's more so just indicative that Nintendo really had no checks and balances to what made it onto their shop during this time. You run around a dark area with a crummy flashlight, everything has a bad, blurry PS1 texture on it. The story is nonsensical, I'm not even convinced that there is one even though there's words here. But hey, to the game's credit, there are letters, so points for at least not lying to us with the marketing. There is in fact a letter in this game, multiple even. But while The Letter was the most notorious game on this eShop, it's just such a terrible FPS from top to bottom, you're not wrong, but it's not the worst one. And I'm tired of pretending like it is. Suspension Railroad Simulator. In this game, you're in charge of a suspension train station, and as the person in command, you can get into the cockpit of the vehicle and get it to go? I think, maybe? I'll be honest, I have pressed every single button available to me, I have touched every single pixel of the gamepad touchscreen, and I can't get this thing to move to save my life. I can wander around outside the storage room, you know, I can walk into the car, and I can even swoop the camera outside. And you get me riled up, I can even go, ugh. But I cannot at all get this thing to actually move, which I would assume there's a game behind this, but I can't get to it. There's something about like needing to make sure people get into the car, but no matter what I do, I just can't do it. And when I look outside, I see the same 3 people over and over again. I think I'm just going insane, so I'm just gonna move on. Next up, we got Joe's Diner. Ooh, it's kind of a spooky game. Get ready. You're not prepared for the frights that are ahead. In the middle of nowhere, there's a diner that was built on top of a cemetery. There's some more stuff to it, but quite frankly, it's a lot of exposition. Like it is a lot of text and then a shockingly long loading screen, and I can't be bothered. I'm gonna be totally real with you. But hey, look at that. We're in the diner now. Essentially, the goal of the game is to clean up the diner before too long, as well as not making too much noise to disturb the old chieftain. That's it. And your eyes do not deceive you, this game does indeed run at frames per second. And oh man, those spooky old ghosts, let me tell you, they're up to no good. Out of nowhere, phones are gonna go off, the coffee maker's gonna go off, the TV's gonna turn on, it's haunted, and I'm about to pee my pants, I'm so damn scared. But like, you can only hold one thing at a time, and it didn't do a good job telling me where to put the thing, so I'm just walking around an abandoned diner holding a plate of food that was eaten 20 hours ago, and I don't know what's happening. There's noises all over the place. I'm not scared, I'm just annoyed. But oh, if you don't clean the diner before the end of your shift, you, die? I think? Okay, now hold on. This one has some potential now. Chasing Dead. Oh, this looks like an actual game. It's not original, it's like Walking Dead, but now they're chasing you. Ooh. You guys alright back there? Do you need an ibuprofen? The adventure begins in a plane in mid-crash, and yep, we got zombies. It's a good thing we got this flashlight too, I can barely tell what's going on. Maybe it's just me here, but I kind of feel like shooting a gun inside of a plane that's currently careening at max speed into the ground. It's probably not gonna help matters. That's just me. I've never been in this situation, so I wouldn't know, but that seems like a safe thought. That being said though, I've never been to Other Earth, so maybe the rules don't apply there, I don't know. Oh hey, and I'm dead. Good. These controls are just so damn sluggish. It's a basic twin stick thing. You would think that they would know what they're doing, but it just feels so bad. The buttons all do exactly what you expect them to, but the sluggish analog stick movement and the choppy frame rate, it's nearly impossible to achieve anything here. But eventually, through enough persistence, I got far enough for a new health bar to show up. What's this all about? Oh my god. Oh my god. Invisible zombie. What? Alright, come here, you invisible bastard. Oh, wait, now he's here and he has a gun? Okay. Dude, what? Every time he becomes invisible after enough bullets, like, he just kills you in 5 seconds, and you have no time to dodge anything. This sucks. But you know what? I don't know why, but I did see something. There had to be something at the end of this terrible journey, something in level 2 that was gonna be enticing. I had to push forward, and sure enough, it took like a half hour, but I did it. Level 2, now this one here. You know, outside of the no skybox thing, I got some hope. First things first, an immediate leap of faith. And there's a zombie helicopter. This can't be good. Yep, I don't think this follows protocol. Okay. Out of all the games I played here, quite honestly, Chasing Dead is the worst of the lot, but I gotta give a special shout out to the first Skunk Bundle, which includes multiple pieces of garbage. This is very ambitious. The kicker is, it's also of multiple genres. That's crazy. You got another first-person horror game with incredible audio overload and a guy that's just standing there minding his own business. I think he's supposed to be the bad guy, but oh, hello there. Oh, actual feces. Excellent. So yeah, it's no surprise to anyone, but this is bad too. I have zero idea what to do in this one. But once again, we got multiple games here. This same bundle also includes Basic Ass Snake, a platformer with the world record in slowest jump speed of all time, a garbage bomb explosion mobile game that looks like it's trying to be Angry Birds, but I totally missed the memo. And okay, but listen here, okay? The thing that ties everything together, like truly, like you would think, okay, bad games, whatever, that there's no redeeming this one, but you're wrong. On your bingo card, if you had the main menu theme being a piano rendition of Good Riddance by Green Day, then oh man. Oh, I'm having the time of my life, all right. I assure you that. This has been one of the times of all time. Also, relax. The first Skunk Bundle, there is no second Skunk Bundle here. You got way too ahead of yourself now. You were thinking, oh, I can be like Pokemon, the first movie. I know there's gonna be a sequel. Nah, you're more like Doug's first movie. You're the Doug's first movie of video games. Congratulations. Like the other games in that bundle though, it should really be no surprise that other tiny shovelware games were slipping through the cracks at all times. Here's Daikon Set, a trio of games that are functional, and they have graphics. That's all I can give it. Emoji Kara, they kind of give you 2 words and you gotta find the 2 emoji that are those 2 words. This cost money. Ava and Avior save the earth.
Let's recycle and save the earth.
Okay, let's do that. Hey kids, you ever wanted to learn the difference between compost and recycling with 2 creepy flying children staring at you the whole time to make sure you don't screw up? No? Well, clearly you hate the environment. This is the only way. And dude, like, they start to throw in hazardous materials to sift through on a moving train as well. This is getting a little bit too much for a kid here. Take this toxic ooze. Don't put it in the recycling. That's a big no-no. I can't handle this. Let me look at all the pets I unlocked instead. The environment was a mistake. Interesting little fun fact, there's no game of Tetris on the Wii U. That's kind of weird. There was Puyo Puyo Tetris on the Wii U only in Japan, so not localized, but if you want your Tetris fix, don't worry, got you covered. Here's Heptrix. It's Tetris but bad. There was Percy's Predicament, which is just a mediocre high school project adaptation of Monkey Ball, but you know what, credit where it's due. The name Percy's Predicament is incredibly hilarious, so look at this guy. For being in a predicament, he's pretty f***ing happy about it. Love Me Stupid Buddies Stupid Wonderland. This looks like a Flash game from the early 2000s. What do you mean? You see, you may be thinking to yourself now, oh, it's a preschool game for little children. That's totally fine, right? No, absolutely not. You just keep touching the animal it wants you to ad nauseum. That's it. That's the whole thing. What do you expect a kid to get out of this? All right, that animal was a bust. What about the next one? Oh wow, crazy! It's the same thing! I got a good feeling about the Dracula bat here. All right, now come on, Dracula bat, don't let me down. Ooh, it's a matching game now. Oh, the brain juices are starting to flow now! Also found this one where you have to like move the iceberg for the animal to just get to the other side, and it controls terribly because it's based on tilting the Wii remote, and I'm so tired. Oh, dude, the stone cutter. Holy shit, the stone cutter. I don't know how this released. It's a series of text boxes with lifeless narration, and that's it. And you think, oh, it's a visual novel, then sure, we can at least get some good artwork out of this. No, it's a series of PNGs with the occasional piece of clip art over it. I'm stunned. It's a story about like a guy who wants to cut stones or something. I don't know. He goes out, he finds a rock, and then proceeds to cut it. I think, you know, even with picking some of the options that led to the wrong endings, this game took 5 minutes to get through. Oh, you thought I was gonna say hours? No, 5 minutes. Listen, man, like I said earlier, game development is tough. I understand. I sympathize with anyone trying to live their dream and get a video game out there for the masses to play. But this, if you sent this to Nintendo servers and they accepted it, oh man, it is proof that life is cruel and we would all be better off going to tend the fields until we die. Obviously, when you're looking at the good games on the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U, you're gonna have a grand old time. But on both of these consoles, it really calls into question whether or not the games like the ones mentioned today even deserve to be preserved, despite the eShops being closed, and you know what? Yeah, you know what, I believe they do. Yes, of course, you are likely more willing to pop on a classic like Pocket Card Jockey, or experiment with something new like Rusty's Real Deal Baseball before opting to pop on f***ing Garfield Kart again. But like many other things in life, it is hard to appreciate the good in games without playing some bad ones too. And for that, these games do fulfill a purpose. Even if they're absolute trash and should not have existed. And you know what, since all of these games have been preserved in some way, shape, or form, it'll always be interesting to go back and see what a company with the pedigree of Nintendo did allow for sale on their consoles, and how differently a wide range of people wanted to go about beginning or continuing their game development journey. Besides, it's not like the Nintendo Switch is much better. Believe it or not, most if not every video game console that ever existed has more bad games than good games. That's just the reality of it. So for the sake of game preservation and accessibility, it is important that those games are there and you have a way to access them if you so choose. I'm not saying you should choose to play the letter in the current year, because you definitely have unresolved problems if you do, but it's important that they're there. And besides, like, if these games weren't readily accessible, I wouldn't be able to make this YouTube video, so there's one positive, you know, aspect of this, depending on who you ask. The Wii U also got Now I Know My ABCs, also by Skunk Software, and all it is the alphabet song, and then you draw out the letters. That's it. Look at this dog. This dog is deceased. Thank God for video game preservation. Back in my Kirby's Dream Buffet video, I said this. Next year, we're gonna have a bit of a break, right? That means that, you know, they'll step back and they'll be like, okay, maybe this year we don't make 1 or 2 Kirby games in the same year and shadow drop them on Twitter. That's going to happen. That video released August 28th, 2022. They announced this game 2 weeks later. Dude, like, there's really nothing easier than being a Kirby fan, like, honestly. If you're anti-Kirby, somehow, and you're annoyed with all of the preferential treatment this franchise gets from Nintendo, I understand, I really do. We just gotta sit here and the coolest things ever will happen to us, and Captain Falcon is still dead. It's like this company can't let a single direct go by without announcing something for Kirby. Forgotten Land and Dream Buffet were still both pretty fresh, and bam, doesn't matter. Now the Wii game Return to Dreamland is getting remastered for the Switch very soon. okay, yeah, sure, why not? Kirby's Return to Dreamland? Quite frankly, I did figure that when this game was going to come to the Switch, I did expect a bit of a trilogy pack with Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot as well. Would have made for a sick 30th anniversary celebration pack, and I mean, hey, if Miitopia of all games can get remade for the Switch, why can't those? But I think that's just me, as a Kirby fan, accustomed to being a spoiled little brat. I can hear it now. Kirby Triple Deluxe? Deluxe. Easy money right there. Well, I mean, there simply aren't enough Kirby games for me to play. Though, that being said, right before RTDLDX released, Nintendo announced in another Direct that, you know what? Tilt and Tumble and Amazing Mirror for the Game Boy and GBA Switch Online apps respectively, those are coming, and it's a bigger deal than you would initially think. Yeah, these are usually just typical ROM drops and that's it. I mean, Dreamland 1 got released as soon as the app did, but actually, this means we will have an official console port of Tilt and Tumble for the first time with native motion controls. Incredible. I don't know if those GameCube holding speedrunners will make the jump over to the Switch Pro Controller, but damn it, it's a tilt in the right direction. And Amazing Mirror is gonna be on an emulator that has official online play. Oh my god? I know these emulators just inherently have online play, so it's to be expected, but dude, Amazing Mirror Online, that's incredible. And just those announcements on top of all of the additions to this remaster, man, like I said, us Kirby fans really just have to sit here and relax, and the best things will happen. Sorry about the mad ramblings of a Kirby fan here going through a really good time in my life. This timeline is treating someone like me really good right about now. But the star of the show for today, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. It's an interesting choice. I'm all for more Kirby content, obviously, as well as more Wii games getting ported. Big fan of that as well. It's just been less than a year since Forgotten Land, and I feel really weird that we're already here. Though, I guess, realistically, the timing does make a little bit more sense than you would initially think. Return to Dreamland is now the 4th Kirby game to get the remake treatment, 5th if you count Superstar Stacker as a remake. I don't know why you would, but some people do. And if you look at the timing in between the original's release as well as the remake's release, you can see that we're looking at roughly 4,100 days, which isn't too far off from the duration of time between Adventure and Superstar and their respective remakes. The timing actually makes total sense. Extra Epic Yarn came out the soonest, and hey, maybe that's why it's the weakest one. You gotta shoot closer to that 4,000 day mark, that's the ticket. This is a moment that doubled as not only a fun piece of trivia, but also a reminder that we're all progressively getting older. Look at me reviewing the original Wii game all those years ago. This little idiot had no clue what the next few years had in store for him. Also, did you know that in Japan they kept Wii in the name, so it's Kirby Wii Deluxe? Did you also know that while the game was called Kirby's Adventure Wii in Europe originally, they went ahead and took the Return to Dreamland name, so now the name's different depending on what console, as opposed to America where it's Return to Dreamland the entire time. Does anyone else find this interesting, or am I way too far gone? Man, I still remember when this game was originally revealed as just Kirby Wii. It's easy to forget just how important this game was for this franchise. Kirby's return to Dreamland? When did he ever leave, right? Well, believe it or not, there did used to be a time where Kirby didn't get love every 20 minutes from Nintendo. After 64, the Crystal Shards in 2000, the franchise was mostly relegated to spin-offs and remakes, and the platformers that did release, Amazing Mirror and Squeak Squad, while both fun in their own regards, it was evident that they didn't have the amount of love and polish that the games deserved, probably in part due to being handed off to another developer, Flagship. Only in 2010 with Epic Yarn did we finally see Kirby getting the big spotlight again. It had been 10 years since Kirby felt like a big deal. There was that glimmer of hope with a GameCube game, but as we all know, that was in development purgatory and eventually scrapped with elements from that build showing up in later games. And speaking of, did you see that new footage of that GameCube game was actually discovered randomly in 2022? That's... wow. Footage once thought to be lost just happened to show up on YouTube 17 years later. That's... what? And if we go even further down this rabbit hole, remember when Nintendo dropped an Iwata Asks segment that revealed that not only was that GameCube game canceled, but there were 2 other games in development too that never saw the light of day? Well, obviously the 4-player co-op one was a big selling point for Return, as well as Star Allies in the future. There's this sort of isometric one that managed to finally show up in Blowout Blast, obviously expanded upon greatly with Forgotten Land. But this third one here, the side-scroller with a cel-shaded art style? Well, how about that? Obviously, art style preference is subjective, whether or not you dig the remaster's outline style. You could argue that Battle Royale had a similar art style, but nobody actually played that game. I could just be grasping at thin air here, that is totally possible, but I'm going to call Return to Dreamland Deluxe closure after so many years of rare information drops for canceled Kirby games, and that's actually really awesome. Yeah, I think I have an unhealthy obsession. I think that much is clear. Oh, this is a Kirby cup that they released at Kung Fu Tea locations. It had like a pink berry drink. It was to celebrate the release of Forgotten Land. It was pretty good from what I remember. You can't get it anymore. It was like a year ago at this point. But I kept the cup. And I still use it. That tastes just like Kirby. I saw some people say that because Sand Kirby is in this game, you thought I was gonna, like, for a gag, eat sand? What's wrong with you people? Important question right out of the gate. In this remaster, does King Dedede still do the thing on the title screen? The game's perfect. The story begins in the peaceful world of Dreamland. Oh, it's the butterfly. I am shattered beyond repair and there is no saving me. A mysterious ship crashes, Magolor needs your help to repair it. It's a pretty typical story. Something bad is happening and you're the good guy, so you gotta go save the day. That makes a lot of sense. There's not a whole lot more to elaborate on here. Magolor is one of the most trustworthy characters in this franchise, and I will do anything he says. But you know what? This whole new King Dedede thing really has me thinking far too hard about this newer redesign. Club Penguin looking ass. They've given this dude so many redesigns in his life, they can't stick to one. It's a miracle we got the same design for 2 games back to back. We got this adorable little ball of chub in 64, this odd, always mean looking design in Triple Deluxe. Wasn't bad, he just looked very angry. His anime look, he was always kind of too big, always put me off, not gonna lie. I think I'm also in the minority of not really digging the Star Allies design. Like, Buff Dedede was funny for a minute, but even when he's not buff, this guy right here, he's a little too long for my liking. And then Forgotten Land came out and gave us a king that was almost perfect. The adorable 64-styled big blue ball of simultaneous happiness and anger, but modernized, just with a pretty cool tribal look that worked well for that game given his insane boss battles. So in Deluxe, having that model with his classic outfit, dare I say we have reached peak Dedede. I definitely like this more than the original Wii model. But points also go to Smash Dedede. That's pretty damn close to the top 2. And why Stone Kirby in this game can summon Star Allies Dedede and not New Dedede, I don't know. I'm starting to believe in a Dedede multiverse. Also, on the topic of redesigns, shout out to this Twitter user here for pointing out that the enemy Waddle Dees and the friend Waddle Dees in this game use the models from Star Allies and Forgotten Land respectively, based off of pretty slight differences in the face. This is pretty important information. Really doing a great job doing anything but talking about the actual game itself. I apologize about that. While getting a brand new return to form Kirby game was actually super refreshing back in 2011, nothing changes the fact that, yep, this is a Kirby game alright. Return to Dreamland was Nintendo's attempt to take the formula of Kirby games that worked so well in the past, like Adventure and Superstar, and just polish the hell out of it. Something they would continue to improve upon with the 3DS sequels. The basic mechanics all feel nice and tight, all of the copy abilities do the Superstar thing of having multiple attacks that can be pulled off pending your button inputs. Each level has multiple shiny things to collect, so you actually have to pay attention to your surroundings instead of just plowing through the levels. And it's all bundled together with a great presentation for both the visuals and the soundtrack, all really great stuff. And even back on the Wii, I always thought this game looked really nice. All of the colors just pop, the foreground pieces are nicely detailed, and if you ever just stare off into the background, the amount of detail that goes into every single landscape is actually kind of stunning. It's easy to not even consider them because you're always running through them and focusing on what's in front of you instead of what's behind you, but if you ever get a second to chill out and just look at the back, there's a lot going on there. And then we jump on over to Deluxe, and yeah, there's the matter of the most noticeable difference on the surface. We have outlines now. Rather than simply having the game look like it's running through Dolphin on max settings, we actually have a pretty noticeable art style shift. The foreground and background elements have a lot more detail, some areas go for a bit more of a pastel-y color palette, I think it's very pleasing. And yeah, all of the characters have outlines now. Interesting choice, not like the characters ever blended into the background from my experience in the past, but for what it's worth, I do really love how this looks. I prefer when art styles have a bit more extra artistic personality to them, and realistically, Return to Dreamland was always relatively uninspired in terms of its style. Yeah, incredibly detailed, for sure, but grassland, desert, underwater, snow, volcano. Some levels later on are a little bit more memorable, like the mechanical stages, and especially the Sky Tower, but in general, it is pretty standard stuff. Not a problem necessarily, but certainly doesn't stand out compared to some of the environments and themes of the 3DS games. So for me, this new style adds a lot to help Return appear more striking. Granted, I do think the outlines could have still been an option. Like 2 days after the demo released, there was a mod that removed the outlines and it looks fine. But whatever, I still like them. It's even more visually interesting when we compare this directly with the Kirby adventure built for the Switch, Star Allies. Even with the base Wii version, yeah, I think Return looks better. So clearly, Deluxe blows that right out of the water. Star Allies just didn't really have much of a style that let things pop as much as Deluxe does. And also, gotta say, it's really nice having a console Kirby game now that runs at 60 FPS. It's about damn time. I've said this once, I'll say it a million times, I am no frame rate snob, but when all of the other modern Kirby games run at 60 and Star Allies ran at 30, it looks kinda gross. It was fine with Forgotten Land since that game was an entirely different format, but for the 2D games, it was jarring to me in 2018, still jarring in 2023. And hell, in recent years, there was even a mod developed just to push Star Allies to 60, and it looks so much better. All I'm saying is yes, Return to Dreamland Deluxe looks really good. It's no Metroid Prime Remastered, because Kirby's better. The soundtrack is just as good as it ever was, that much was a given, though there has been some changes here too, mostly in regards to what songs play where. One of the secret HAL rooms now plays music from Dream Buffet, the mini boss tower in Nutty Noon now plays a remix of the Superstar boss battle theme instead of the King Dedede theme, the same stage in Extra Mode plays Stage of the Partners from Kirby Fighters 2, the second phase of the HRD3 fight uses Roar of Dedede from Forgotten Land now, which is an incredible change. Not a ton of differences here, but just plenty of really good fan service. Wow, the new game in a series with consistently good games is good. I am shocked and appalled with this information. You see, what I was most interested in, what my big dumb baby brain was interested in, was just what was going to be new about this release. You know, when it comes to remakes, remasters, re-releases, whatever you want to call them, Nintendo's track record is all over the place. We could get Bowser's Fury, we could get new funky mode. And for this one, I mean, come on now, what are you gonna have in this Kirby game that's gonna be good for new players, but also people like me who have played this game like a dozen times in the past? I'm not lying, like a dozen times. Like I said, unhealthy obsession. First and foremost, you can now taunt with the right stick. Yeah, the Wii game didn't have that, Deluxe is better, 10 out of 10. Okay, but for real now, they added diagonal swimming to this version. This is a game changer. You do not understand how exciting this is. For the first time in one of these Kirby remasters, remakes, whatever you want to call them, we have brand new abilities. First up, we got Mecha. You're a Gundam now, this is sick. You got a laser you can charge up, you can shoot some projectiles of the fire and electric variety, you got a sweet jetpack, and these super powered hands too. This is pretty badass, honestly, though a bit unwieldy at times if I'm being honest. Like, there's this really cool charge forward backflip laser combo that looks awesome, but I feel like it doesn't do as much damage as it should. It looks like it would be devastating, but it feels like nothing actually happens. The outfit is certainly better than its utility. Maybe I just need to get better at it, I don't know. Make sure to put it in the next game, you cowards. And then we got Sand. Oh my god, this one's incredible. Harnessing the power of pocket sand, you can attack in every direction in a handful of different ways, and it feels like every single grain of sand Kirby pulls out does incredible damage. Dude, like, just hold the block button and you're invulnerable forever. And then you can shoot out into the sky doing a surprising amount of damage. Dude, Sand is insane. Both abilities each have a new challenge room in the Star Cutter now, and that's pretty cool. Considering how strict those rooms are to get gold rankings, let alone platinum rankings, these are the perfect ways to learn what these abilities have in store. Yo, even the Sand enemy is cuter than the Mecha one. Like, this is not the outcome I expected. Oh, and also I can't forget to mention that Festival from Star Allies is in this game now. Hooray? The only other time new abilities were added to a re-release, it was the Ravel abilities in Extra Epic Yarn, and considering that game didn't have copy abilities in the first place, I thought their inclusion was unnecessary, honestly, but here, yeah, they're fine. They don't really fill a void that the original game was lacking, but the more power-ups, the better in my opinion. Need I remind you just how good Sand is again? I got into an argument on Twitter about whether or not Sand is the 69th ability in this franchise, and I'm sorry to report that, no, it's not. Though I get the excitement. Sure, if you count like the anime exclusives, and does anybody count normal as an ability? Sorry, that's weird if you do. Strictly speaking, from the games, from all of these main adventures on Nintendo consoles, Mecha and Sand are abilities 67 and 68 respectively. I would know, I did a whole ass list ranking all of them. How are some of these people trying to tell me that I'm wrong? That video had 67 entries and didn't even include Sand because they revealed it shortly after I made that video because Nintendo actually hates me and wanted that video irrelevant as soon as possible. In regards to where I would put these abilities on that ranking list, I think I was pretty dead on with Mecha's placement. I think mid-20s is the perfect spot for that one, but Sand? Like, dude, like, I don't know, maybe in my top 10? This definitely became my arena go-to ability. Stupid Galactonite here did not stand a chance. And this dude's like a god. But at the end of the day, what this does mean is it doesn't matter what the next Kirby game is, what the next ability is, no matter what, 69 is right around the corner. Interestingly enough, some of the returning abilities got modified as well. The Energy Sword move that debuted in Triple Deluxe is here now. Fire has a couple of new moves as well, one when you're at a standstill and one when you're rolling. And the Hammer Flip move that you're really used to now because it's super powerful and also destroys bosses. I totally forgot that that wasn't in the original Wii game. It's here now though. This is so much to take in. One of my favorite things with these Kirby games and the fan service is the stone transformations, and we have a couple new ones here. Magolor on the Star Cutter, Kirby from Forgotten Land, the Fat Boy from Dream Buffet, really like that one. And this one did show up in Star Allies, but hey, it's QB on Mount Fuji. Some techniques have also been modified for King Dedede, Meta Knight, and Bandana D in co-op to more match how they played in more recent games, and that's pretty cool too. Found this out because even though I'm not a huge fan of co-op in my platformers, you can still play as these characters in the arena mode. Hell yeah. I know I'm gonna sound selfish, but if there was anything I do wish they added, I do think the challenge stages from Dream Collection would have been a really cool bonus. That content is still trapped on the Wii, so it would have been nice to, you know, not have that be the case. I have to assume there was some hesitation because Smash was an ability for one of them, and Smash isn't in this game, and they had to prioritize Festival instead, you know. I get it. But considering this was likely their only chance for this content to come back, That's kind of upsetting. This would have also been a pretty cool time to bring back the Super Spark and Super Cutter abilities that are cut content. Why not? A re-release is always the perfect time to bring some of that stuff back. Oh yeah, the super abilities. One of the big gimmicks with Return to Dreamland were these areas where you would get a fancy super ability, you start shining something fierce, and with the push of a button, you get essentially a little screen nuke. It's really cool, and Kirby is really cute while doing so. Mechanically, I never really thought these were that great. Once you get past that flashy style, you feel powerful, for sure, but these rooms that you get these abilities in equate to just holding forward and pressing a button when something dare stands in your path. And at the end of the day, they were just a means to getting to these portals that transport you to Purgatory for a little chase segment and a mini boss fight. It gets the job done, but it's not something I'm super excited about. Like, I think Super Suck and Triple Deluxe is way better. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty formulaic. Except for that one time that you become the head of a snowman, that part's perfect. But hey, back on topic with differences with this deluxe version, each of the abilities now have a lot better animation when you first get them. It used to be when you would get the ability, Kirby would do a nice little, hey, look, I got it, and then you'd get into the gameplay. But here, oh, the camera's swooping, Kirby's a lot more emotional about this whole ordeal. This is great. I love this. It's so nice. But just in case you don't like those and want to get right back to the action, well, now you can skip the cutscenes too. Couldn't do that in the original. They've added the Gigant Sword and the Morpho Sword to the Ultra Sword lineup. That's pretty sick. Enemies will now fly and hit the screen with intense force when you take them out with one of the attacks. That's just a cool touch. If we're going for style over substance with the whole super ability thing, doubling down on the style was certainly the right call. I like these changes a lot. Super Suck is still better though. They even brought back the old animations from the Wii game during one of the final boss fights. That's a pretty cool throwback. And outside of the abilities themselves, there's even more minor visual changes, like this part early on in the game with the super fire ability where you burn down this big tree in the original and the portal just shows up in the middle. Well, now there's a little cutscene where the tree will burn down and fall into the background. Cool, that was my major complaint with the original game. Ooh, the screen transitions are new here too. There is so much visual polish added to Deluxe. Oh man, what else? Okay, so there's a Helper Magolor mechanic now, where Magolor will give you health when it's low and pick you up when you fall down pits. That's nice of him. Certainly not something that someone with evil intentions would ever do. I like him a lot. He's got a bright future. You can also now store items, Super Mario World style. Sure? The game never really needed to be easier, but hey, anything for accessibility to newer players is fine by me. Conversely, the harder extra mode is still here, unlocked after beating the game with roughly 70% completion, and like in the original, it's the same adventure, just made a bit more difficult. Harder bosses with some cosmetic changes, more enemies, smaller health bar with less health pickups, and an extra mode exclusive boss near the end of the game, which yes, is a throwback to the cancelled GameCube game. In Deluxe's extra mode, there are even more enemies and obstacles compared to the original, but quite frankly, without direct comparison, I couldn't tell the difference. I still died a bunch because of the shorter health bar. I just can't tell if the enemy that killed me was in the original or not. So sue me, I'm a fake Kirby fan. There's a new past adventure screen on the main menu now, continuing the current trend of Nintendo reminding us just how often they make these damn games with no sign of stopping anytime soon. They added amiibo support so you can get item drops whenever you want. Okay. Of course, co-op is still present, but unfortunately, there is no online play for this. There never was any indicator that there was going to be online, but hey, once again, I was never a co-op platformer guy, wasn't going to affect me either way, but I can tell that there were a lot of people online who are upset at the omission. And if you are one of the upset ones, consider this. He's actually called Bandana Waddle Dee in this one. He was just Waddle Dee in the original but happened to wear a bandana. Instead, online play is restricted to the new minigame mode, Merry Magoland. Because standard minigame selection menus are for losers, and Kirby is not a loser, damn it. Oh, no, not the whole minigame mode, my apologies. Just one. Just one of them is online. Yay. Oh man, this Magolor dude is great. He is the best. He's taken me out of pitfalls, he's giving me items, and he made an entire ass theme park. Dude, this guy, come on now. He can do nothing wrong. We got a whopping 10 sub-games in this one, the most of any game in the franchise, holy cow. For new games, we have Magolor's Tome Trackers, where a specific book cover gets shown, and it's a race to get to it in the pile first. Plus, you're all wearing school caps. It's adorable. And Booming Blasters, where we give everybody a gun and have a good old round of deathmatch. I'm glad Kirby continues to practice his Second Amendment rights. As for the other 8 sub-games, they're all returning from older Kirby games. Yes! We have Egg Catcher from Adventure, Samurai Kirby from Superstar, Checkerboard Chase from 64, Bomb Rally from Nightmare in Dreamland, Crackety Hack from Amazing Mirror, Smash Ride from Squeak Squad, Kirby on the Draw from Superstar Ultra, and Ninja Dojo returning from the original Return to Dreamland. This is so damn cool. The music when you're on the difficulty selection screens are remixes of each game's respective menus. The victory screens are all identical from their source games too, like the Kirby 64 award screen is exactly the same, yes! Listen, I've never been someone who's hard to please, okay? Anything remade from this franchise I think is the coolest thing. Seeing Egg Catcher show up after so long in HD, the music is remade, both Kirby and Dedede have the baby chicks popping out of their mouths. This is peak Kirby right here. It's just a shame we don't see the chicks popping out of Meta Knight's masks or Waddle Dee's mouth. I mean, the anime shows that he can eat, so they could have put that in the game. And then the online mode in question is a separate entity entirely, Samurai Kirby 100, where you and 99 other Kirbys around the world see who can press the A button the fastest. You could, quite frankly, tell me these are all CPU players, and I couldn't tell you the difference. I don't know why this is online. I feel a stronger connection to Manager Magolor telling me stats. I was about to say that this was an incredibly dumb inclusion, but then I managed to get first, so now I would be upset if this wasn't here. In all of these editions, we did lose Scope Shot though. This is so sad. I did always like Ninja Dojo more, so I don't really feel the same pain, but kind of strange that they decided to get rid of one of them at all. Adding salt to the wound, the second Hal room now plays the Scope Shot title theme. Why? Why did Hal go for the throat on this one? Oh yeah, before I forget, they also added a third Hal room to the game that wasn't in the original. Dude, this company loves the Kirby franchise so much, it's wild. This is true love right here. Alongside all of the sub-games, Merry Magoland comes with 100 missions, and I mean, that's pretty refreshing. Usually the sub-games are just there for a fun little distraction and nothing more, but now there is a whopping 100 achievements to go for. Many of them are very basic. You beat all the difficulties, for example, do particularly well in some harder difficulties like catching 20 eggs in Egg Catcher level 3, and play each of the games with a specific mask, which, yes, there are unlockable masks in this game as well. This adds a lot of gameplay time to the 100% goal right here, because once you finish all 100 of these achievements, and you think you're done, stupid Magolor throws another 20 at you that are super tough. Tome Tracker's level 3, winning this mode with 18 points, made me want to commit crimes. Completing all of these back to back took me about 3.5 hours, though admittedly, I did definitely surprise myself with some of these. Like one of these is to get at least 20th place in Samurai Kirby 100, and I hit first place on my second attempt, so yeah, you know what, I am gonna brag actually, I feel really good about that one. Merry Magoland, the happiest place on earth, would return and spend too much money there again. Look at it just sitting there in the background at the start of Nutty Noon now. I love it. It's like it's a real place. Oh yeah, can't really gloss over the mask thing. It's kind of a cute addition. For extra fan service, you can unlock the faces of a bunch of characters throughout the series by collecting these Merry Magoland tickets. It's pretty cute. I mean, definitely something to make co-op a little bit more interesting, but some of them also make noises. So getting to run through these levels as Kirby making masked Dedede sounds is pretty cool. That's kind of fun. Fun fact, if you wear the Kind mask, you have a more powerful bubble attack underwater. The attention to detail in this game is nuts. There's a couple of deep cuts on the selection too, Drossia and Zero masks? Okay, that's cool. Getting to see newer renditions of Nago, Peach, and Choo Choo, that's nice, I like that a lot. Can't believe Dark Nebula is here. Old friend. I'm really crying in the club right now. And dude, Pick and Mine, are you serious? The Rick and Kind counterparts from Dreamland 3 that you saw on one screen each and that's it? I love this. Sadly, Coo didn't have a counterpart in that game, so Grayscale Coo instead. Suck it up, sport, you'll be fine. The only issue with this screen is that Yellow Kirby is just called Yellow Kirby now, and after Dream Buffet had the audacity to bring Kibi back into the spotlight, this will not stand. All right, the moment that many of you have been waiting for, spoiler time. What? Spoilers? Isn't this a 10-plus-year-old game? What could there possibly be to spoil in this current year? Well, listen here, idiot, you big Dumbo. You see the back of the box here? Magolor Epilogue, Brave and Extra Quest after the ending. There's new stuff. And I got thoughts. Hey, you know how Magolor betrays you at the end of the story and you banish him into the Shadow Realm? Yo, that's crazy. This is why Kirby fans everywhere have trust issues and thought Elflin was gonna stab you in the eyes in Forgotten Land. Well, Magolor Epilogue is here to let us know just what Magolor was up to after said banishment. With his outfit in tatters, Magolor wakes up in another dimension, similar to the chase levels from the main campaign. On your brief travel here, you run into a fruit fragment. You get told to collect more. Go. Gameplay-wise, Magolor does play quite differently than Kirby, sort of similar to how he played in the Star Allies guest star mode, but with a twist. Throughout the stages, you collect these magic spheres, and with them, you can upgrade all of your attributes, like all of them. the speed of your horizontal and vertical shots, the effectiveness of your shield, how much longer your specials will stick around, stuff like that. And while upgrading moves in like any game is inherently satisfying, you get the benefit of being able to grow longer chains during the gameplay. You see, you're not just collecting magic spheres by walking into them, you get them from defeating enemies, and get even more if you keep attacking them in a fast manner. And doing something like upgrading your trickery attribute benefits you because sometimes that will lengthen how long your chain could last without any activity. Me? Get up to my sneaky dirty tricks again? I would never. Unless no one is looking. Learning the level designs to chain the best combos and go for the highest points is really the name of the game here, and it is way more satisfying than I thought it was going to be. Typically, these extra modes like Meta Nightmare and DD Detour just play through the main game with a new character, and sure, it's not like visually we got anything crazy here with Magolor, but still, by having unique designs, sometimes pulled from the main game's chase segments, most times not, made for a consistently fun adventure for the roughly 2 hours it took to complete it. And even the bosses are more changed than I expected them to be. These aren't simply the main game bosses with the color swap, no. They also have new names. And based on said names, you can tell that these battles now have element properties too. It's pretty cool stuff. Or shocking stuff. Really just depends on the fight. And if you do your due diligence and pause the gameplay while you're in the battle, you can get a little bit of extra lore. This is the good stuff here. And when doing so, you can tell that all of these guys are working for a bigger bad guy. But wait a second. I thought Magolor was the bad guy. Who's badder than this guy? Well, once all of the fruit pieces are together, making a gem apple, yes, very important detail, Magolor then battles another Grand Doomer. Pretty cool. I mean, it's got some different attacks like the other bosses, nothing too special here, goes down pretty easily, and then this portal opens up. Dude, like, come on, man, like, what do you mean? We got a biblically accurate Wispy Woods here as the final boss? What is this? God, I love Kirby so much, dude. You see, why this is a thing is because the gem apple seed that you freed from beating the crowned Doomer immediately gets attached to the Master Crown, the thing that turned Magolor scary in the main campaign. So, simple math, you have a seed that will turn into a tree, combined with this source of evil, bam, monstrous tree god. And it's a pretty fun battle too, finally being able to use all of Magolor's skills against a unique boss fight that isn't simply a reskin of something that Kirby fought before. It's really satisfying. This one move that he does when he comes like crashing down on you and then will continue to go into the ground and then stare at you, this is a tree jump scare. But even still, bang bang boom, you take him out no problem, and once you're done, Magolor finds a conveniently placed sword. Well, isn't that nice? He then uses his powers to make it gigantic in size, has one final anime clash of power, and then slashes it in half, defeating it. As this franchise continues to dethrone another god. You know, typical Kirby things. But you may be asking, what's to become of Magolor after all of this? Well, thankfully, a new portal to the outside world opens up, and after wiping away a single tear, oh my god, poor baby, he jumps in for hopefully a brighter future. And if you pay attention to the credits images, you can see Magolor pops up in a new yet kind of familiar land alongside the Gem Appleseed. He sets up a shop in this brand new village to do some business, and just like that, Team Kirby Clash Deluxe and Super Kirby Clash have been injected into the canon. It took a few years, but now we know why. He was finally nice all of a sudden and dressed in green. Looks good on him too. I approve the new digs. See, man, what did I tell you? Nicest guy you ever met. You played Super Kirby Clash, right? He's like super nice in that game. It was just the crown that was messing him up. He's a great dude. In that game, if I remember correctly, he was like giving you really good things, right? That was helping you on your quest, but they also kind of required actual money. They were microtransactions. He's responsible for microtransactions. This guy's evil. Magolor Epilogue is awesome. It's a little annoying that it's locked behind playing the whole main game to get the new stuff, but considering the plot is based off of the endgame plot twist, I guess it makes sense. Leave it to Hal to add story closure to a spin-off in what is seemingly just a run-of-the-mill remaster. I think when directly compared to another remake, Superstar Ultra, that game provided more new stuff than Return to Dreamland Deluxe did, but Magolor Epilogue raises the bar for those post-adventure, alternate playable character modes. Can't wait for the next Kirby remake where you can play as the Dream Fork all of a sudden, because we have to know why it popped up in front of Kirby that one time. I have so many questions after Dream Buffet, man, I need them answered. Worth quickly mentioning the arena here as well. I mean, yeah, it does act the same way it always did, typical boss rush, but True Arena got some notable changes. Not only does it add the Magolor Epilogue fights, so you can now battle biblically accurate Wispy Woods with Kirby, but the Magolor Soul fight Not only does he move faster and hit harder than he used to, not only does he still utilize the same super ability attacks that he did before, but also he conjures up sand tornadoes and shoots from the mecha cannons. This is a scary fight. And if you haven't done this battle yet, you can thank me later for this information, because getting 21 fights in and dying to attacks that you didn't see coming, I would be furious and snap my tiny Switch cartridge in half. No thank you. Now you can tackle this with a steady mind. You're likely still gonna be stressed out, but at least it'll be a little bit more steady. But with that all in mind, that wraps up the entire Kirby RTDL DX package. It's a good game. Are you surprised? This video is longer than my Forgotten Land one. I don't know why I'm like this. Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe is an excellent remaster. They took a great game and made it a lot better. That's all it needed to be. It's a new Kirby release, of course it's good. Mario's a pretty fun guy, right? Saving princesses, going to space, teaching typing, this pseudo-Italian plumber from Brooklyn has been on many adventures in his 40-plus year career. And one of the bright sides of the video game industry as a whole is that despite many of these games being developed in Japan, they've also been localized and released in other regions, so no level of language barrier can stop anybody from experiencing those adventures. And plus, you know, the sheer convenience of just turning a game on and getting to play it from start to finish is just... I mean, that part's just nice. And of course, that ideology isn't exclusive to just Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, Pokemon, Kirby. We should really be thankful that when we have new main entries in those beloved franchises, or even spin-offs, everybody can get their hands on them. Or so you thought. There are so many Nintendo games that never left Japan. You may know that much. I mean, come on, look at Mother 3. That's that game's defining feature. What you may not know though is just how many games there are that Nintendo decided to make and release in Japan and say, hey, you know what, the rest of the world, they don't deserve it. And yes, we're specifically talking about Nintendo games here, not the entire video game industry as a whole, because then it just starts to get really muddy. You know, we got Japanese board games that are in there, there's a bunch of visual novels and RPGs. It's just a minefield that I'm not ready to get into. I'm gonna stick to what I know best, because all I'm saying is Donkey Kong 3 never left Japan, and I'm tired of pretending like I'm not bothered by it. Donkey Kong Jr. localized. Donkey Kong Jr. Math localized. Unfortunately. But sorry, America, Donkey Kong Jr. plus Junior Sansu Lesson, this combo pack is exclusive to Japan. That'll show us. It's so weird, this piece of software. DK Jr. is missing 2 of the 4 stages, so it's just 2 stages that loop over and over again, and then Math is lacking the multiplayer mode, so sorry, you can't bring your friends along for that one. And apparently this was a pack-in game for a specific Sharp C1 Famicom TV? Okay, I mean, I understand why this didn't get localized, but now I don't know why this was ever made in the first place. Oh, I really want this TV, but I hope it includes a gorilla that teaches me math. With Nintendo's obvious roots in Japan and how the markets across regions are very different, it should really come as no surprise that the company thought some of their releases simply didn't make sense financially or emotionally to release elsewhere. Pokemon Green, an earlier version of the first generation that's generally less polished and features way worse sprites for the Pokemon in battle. While it did release alongside Pokemon Red, a game that we would eventually get, and when the remakes came around we had Fire Red and Leaf Green, in reality, our Red for the Game Boy is based off of Japan's third version of that gen with Blue. And since they already had the better versions ready to go, you may as well localize the best versions you can, right? That's a story you're all familiar with. But how about this one? Okay, you knew about Mother 3, of course you did. But did you also know that Mother 1 and 2 also released for the Game Boy Advance as a combo pack? They didn't get roughly shrunken down to fit the handheld screen like the handful of classic NES series games either. All of the sprite work would remain intact despite the smaller resolution, to provide a really solid versions of those games years before Nintendo started to care to port the console versions to all of their digital services. Reggie couldn't be bothered giving us Mother 3, you know he never even gave Mother 1+2 a passing glance. There's Kirby Star Stacker for the Game Boy that got a Super Famicom sequel. Never really understood why this didn't get a worldwide release. The console already had 4 Kirby games, so you reskin Puyo Puyo for Avalanche and that's fine, but you leave a Kirby-specific puzzle game in Japan? God, I mean, we just simply don't have enough Kirby games to play here, I gotta be honest here. This would have been great. Yakuman DS. Okay, yeah, I think that one speaks for itself. Damn, and you guys released Wii Chess in Japan and Europe, but not in America? This is where you drew the line? And if you thought this business strategy was a relic of the past and the industry has been so much better about localizing anything worthwhile nowadays, that's really not the case. Sure, there are some outliers. You got Mario Super Picross getting a release on the Nintendo Switch Online service. There's the original NES Fire Emblem. That got full-on localized with that digital release that was limited for some stupid reason. That was weird. The mysterious Murasame Castle got a virtual console release, only on 3DS and nothing else. God, this company. Famicom Detective Club got full-blown remakes on the Switch. That's super cool. And even if we do start to look all the way back to the Famicom days, it's not difficult to start playing the Japanese exclusive Joy Mech Fight, one of the few times Nintendo attempted to make a proper fighting game. And you know what? It's not anything complicated technically, but it's still pretty satisfying to play to this day. With so many NES games that feel super dated, this game right here, Joy Mech Fight, a Nintendo-developed fighting game, still pretty good. And hey, Sukapon even showed up in Smash, so he's not totally forgotten. But fast forward, have you ever heard of Buddy Mission Bond? Yeah, me neither. In Japan, in 2021, Nintendo released this super stylized detective visual novel with these on-foot investigation segments, and it looks pretty cool. But unless you can speak Japanese, well, you better get your phone's translating app ready to go for the entire ride. I don't know why this is still in Japan. This would be really cool. That sucks. And hey, if you're watching this video in the future and Buddy Mission Bond has been localized, then why did you wait so long, Nintendo? God, these companies make such weird decisions sometimes. So I've been on a bit of an import kick lately. Got a whole bunch of Japanese Nintendo games right here. We're not going to be looking at every single Japanese Nintendo game, but certainly these and a whole lot more. I mean, I own this. Did you think I didn't? But in general, there is a whole world out there of Nintendo games that you've not gotten to experience because they said that you really shouldn't. But thanks to the world of emulation, fan translations, and quite frankly, a lot of these games not having a language barrier to worry about at all, now's the perfect time to give a lot of these games a shot. So let's take a look at some of the best, the worst, and the wackiest Nintendo games that have stayed in Japan. Where my Kansaku fans at? Okay, sure. A minigame collection for the Wii with this quirky little tablet screen head looking character. You know, this was the Wii, like I said, of course this exists. This is Kansaku, a Japanese exclusive minigame collection developed by Nintendo and Google? What? It's a compilation of 14 different minigames all about trying to see which Google search topics have more hits than the other. And there's like this tutorial that teaches the player how Google search trends work and whatnot. This is so strange. The game would even use Nintendo Wi-Fi connection to make sure the results were up to date. That's shockingly ambitious. There's not much more to it than that. What you see is what you get. It's just that what you see is bizarre, and I love it. Since this is purely based on the Japanese language and topical data that cannot be accessed anymore due to the Wi-Fi services being shut down, it just remains now as an interesting little novelty that I'm surprised hasn't been attempted since, and that it's Nintendo of all companies that are responsible for this. The fact they even bothered to give Kansaku a spirit in Smash, quite frankly, is a miracle because I have never seen this thing before in my life. Give me a new trivia game based on Ask Jeeves next. Alright guys, relax, please, hold the applause. Alright, so this is Undake 30, same game. And in this long forgotten puzzle game for the Super Famicom, you just click on icons that will disappear if they're next to the same icons, and then they fall down, and then you can make new matching possibilities. That's it. It turns out the titled same game is a pretty common, simple puzzle game in Japan. So I guess having a Mario version, that makes sense. Later on, we got Puzzle and Dragons with Mario, so I'm sure everyone else thinks that's weird, so yeah, I think Undake 30 same game is weird, I apologize. What's fascinating about this though isn't even its existence, but its release strategy. While a promotional cartridge does exist, this game was primarily distributed by the Satellaview service, a joint effort between Nintendo and a popular Japanese radio company, Saint Giga, to broadcast specific games and other forms of entertainment to be, quote, enjoyed at specific times via satellite. Really ahead of its time, considering it sounds like a much more pleasant streaming experience than we have all the way here in the future in 2022. Rest in peace, Google Stadia. You should have stuck to Kansaku. Oh, and that also reminds me of that Game Boy Color game, Mobile Golf. It was like a pseudo-sequel to Mario Golf that not only had unique content, but also allowed players to essentially connect online over a phone network to play with others using the Mobile Adapter GB peripheral. That is so neat, and man, they were really trying some cool stuff in the 90s in Japan. But the Satellaview, you want to talk about Japanese exclusives, you can't get more exclusive than this. Thanks to the service, we got so much unique content. There's a bunch of tiny minigames with Kirby's Toy Box, remixes of F-Zero with modified cups, and even a couple new tracks, a version of Mario Paint that has actual controller support instead of requiring the Super Nintendo mouse, and because everybody using the service were playing the same games at the same exact time, in combination with the SoundLink feature which allowed for streamed audio, there were these really cool things like this exclusive version of Super Mario All-Stars that was bookended with these like fully voice-acted radio cutscenes. That's so cool. I mean, the game itself is just Mario All-Stars, so whatever, but it's really neat that they managed to pull this off all the way back in the late 90s, and the fact that some of these very time-specific features have been preserved for viewing to this very day is honestly incredible. And also, when you look up the names of a lot of these games, like with their ROM files and whatnot, they all have BS in the title, and stupid baby brain me thinks it's funny. Did you get it? It's an acronym for bullshit. You know how Tetris Attack in America and Europe with Yoshi and friends is just a reskin of Panel de Pon from Japan? I mean, wow, Yoshi and the Tetris title was gonna sell a lot more of a game than Lip the Fairy? I can't believe it. Well, for a limited time, Satellaview broadcasted a Japanese version of the Yoshi version. This is the only way a Japanese version of this game exists. And hey, more Panel de Pon is never a bad thing. Speaking of, Nintendo Puzzle Collection. Oh man, Dr. Mario, Yoshi's Cookie, and Panel de Pon all on one disc. That is so cool. And if you had a GBA link cable, you can connect it to this game to get unique versions of those puzzle games to your handheld. That is so, oh god, I love it so much. This game was once advertised for America, and then they decided to cancel the localization. I'm so mad. And yet you create Donkey Konga. Nintendo, you son of a... Sorry? Sorry, got a little heated, I apologize. Also on the Satellaview service, you got these pseudo-sequels of A Link to the Past with The Legend of Zelda: Ancient Stone Tablets, a 4-chapter adventure that was constantly being narrated to you with actual voiceover. But even more cool, in my opinion, is another Zelda game that is a full-on remake of the original NES adventure. I can't believe a full-blown remake of that game actually exists in an official capacity. It's not really any better or worse than the NES version, it just kinda looks better, but hey, looks nice. There's this strange version of Excite Bike with Mario characters in it, which is really just a cute novelty more than anything. For a game with Excite in the title, it's a bit of false advertising, I'm gonna be real with you. Dude, there was even a version of Wario's Woods featuring the comedians from the classic Japanese TV show Bakusho Mandai. The most ambitious crossover in history, am I right? Clearly this was all meant to be a follow-up to the Famicom Disk System game All Night Nippon Super Mario Bros., which was the original game, with some stages from Lost Levels sprinkled in. World 1 now takes place at night, so much more atmospheric now. And like all of the graphics have been replaced to look like real people from the All Night Nippon Japanese radio program. Of course. Man, this game of Super Mario Odyssey is really fun, but it could really use the cast of Saturday Night Live. But I hear ya, I can tell you're starting to complain. This is a whole lot of nothing games that are no more than cute pieces of trivia. That's it. And in all fairness, there's plenty more too. It's tough to actually hit all of them. We're gonna just ramble on for the last few of these here. Donkey Kong Land 3 got a Game Boy Color version, only in Japan. Game & Watch Gallery 2 got an original Game Boy version, only in Japan. There's the re-release of Super Mario 64, the Shindo version, which implemented rumble functionality, eliminated the backwards long jump to kill speedrun potential, and also removed Mario's "So long, Bowser." So it is infinitely worse, that part's obvious. The e-reader, how can you forget about the e-reader? Got a whole bunch of NES cards, it was a dumb thing, but in Japan, there were exclusive cards that added some extra stages to Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and even cooler, 3 totally original puzzle games for Pikmin 2. There's mini-games in Pikmin 2, only accessed via cardboard from Japan. You can play these easily in an emulator now, thank God, because they're pretty good, and I'm very upset we didn't get them. A lot of you know about the Animal Crossing debut on the Nintendo 64 disk drive before the GameCube, titled Animal Forest, and it is really neat to see this game play on an older console, but it is more or less the same game. It's not like the GameCube version was a technical marvel anyway. Well, like I said before, they're all interesting little nuggets of info, but not much more. I don't see you jumping to play them anytime soon. I'm sorry, but Yoshi no Cookie Kurupan Oven de Cookie sounded great on paper, but it acts like a promotion for a specific Japanese oven, and only 500 copies of the game were ever made. And you know, I love cookies more than the next guy, but you ain't gonna catch me spending... Oh, game collecting is stupid. And besides, who even cares? Nobody's gonna care at all about this unless you're gonna provide, I don't know, 8 different versions of Picross? Oh my god. As a part of not the Satellaview service, but the Nintendo Power service in Japan. No, not to be confused with the magazine brand. Man, they really did try some cool stuff in Japan. You had these cartridges that were rewritable, and by going to a special kiosk, you would be able to download a game of your choice and take it home to enjoy for however long you wanted. No time restrictions like the Satellaview. And while this concept did start for the Super Famicom, it would soon extend to the Game Boy as well. A lot of the games on offer were normal retail games, the Donkey Kong Country Trilogy, Super Mario Land 1 and 2, Yoshi's Cookie for the Game Boy, thank God that's there. But exclusive to this service, 8 full Picross games, titled Picross NP Volumes 1 through 8. This Picross idea certainly isn't something Nintendo came up with. You can find these puzzle games everywhere on every console, there's like a million of them on your phone, you got plenty to work with. But it's definitely strongly associated with the Nintendo brand more than anybody else. And what's neat about these in particular is there are a bunch of Nintendo characters as puzzles. Each of the volumes specialized in a different game. Pokemon, Donkey Kong, Mario, even a dedicated Wario version. They did do something similar on the 3DS with Club Nintendo Picross and the sequel, Club Nintendo Picross Plus, which again, only in Japan through the Club Nintendo Rewards program, and yeah, a ton of puzzles with Nintendo theming. Does Nintendo not think we would like their characters in their puzzle games? There's like 10 of these games on the Switch so far, and the only video game based one in these early years of the console is Sega Genesis themed? I mean, that's cool I guess, but I don't want to do a Bonanza Bros puzzle on Switch. I want to do a Sushi Striker one. Nintendo, you son of a... The Nintendo Power service also offered Wrecking Crew 98, though that also got a proper retail release. Oh yeah, there's an honest-to-God sequel to Wrecking Crew for the Super Famicom. It even includes the original game on the cart. That's kinda cool. How many NES games are straight up emulated for the Super Nintendo? That's unheard of, actually. God, this game. Okay, so they took Wrecking Crew, which was fine. It's a fine game. You could turn it on and play it. It's a functional video game. They took that and made it a competitive puzzle game with a story mode. And usually, I'm all for this. Once again, Paneled Upon, one of the greatest games of all time. More stuff like that is great. But this is one of the most confusing puzzle games of all time. Trying to get the colored blocks where you want them to, moving around individual rows to attempt and eventually fail combos, getting screwed over by the bricks that cover the blocks so that it just messes with your plans even more, it's a nightmare. I don't like this one bit. The matches take forever because I feel like I'm just mindlessly mashing blocks and making no progress until suddenly, oh hey, look at that! I won! It's not good. I'm sorry to all of you diehard Wrecking Crew 98 fans out there, but this ain't for me. For my money, in this heated Mario puzzle game debate of the late 90s, Mario and Wario is the better choice. That dastardly Wario has put a bucket on our heroes' heads, and only with the help of this fairy Wanda can we ensure that these idiots don't walk off the ledges and fall to their demise. I love this game. Sure, it is a totally different style of puzzle game, so it's not really comparable, but listen. I just had to make sure I mentioned Mario and Wario, okay? This game is really cool and should have gotten a sequel on the Wii U since we had the tablet, would have saved the console. We got a stupid Mario vs. Donkey Kong minis game instead, and I'm sorry, this game is just better than all of those. Wrecking Crew 98 though, I mean, I will give it credit, this was the origin of the Mario Maker helmet. That's an interesting piece of trivia also. I like that little nugget. And considering there is a story mode, I can't help but appreciate the little cutscenes that go into them. It makes me want to play the game more. Ooh, a secret path? Alright, sure. Let's just see what's on this path A here, and then we'll move on. Oh, what? Oh, I take it all back. Our next opponent is a genuine jelly donut. I'm so excited. This... oh my god, it's like... It's actually just like rolling around and breaking blocks with its whole self. And I lost? This. Oh, hey, I take it all back. This game is amazing. Mario is Nintendo's golden boy. Naturally, most of these games fall under that umbrella. It doesn't matter how much of a household name that plumber is. Once again, a lot of these games, Nintendo thought, people outside of Japan, not worth it. It's a good thing this is the same company that funded Devil's Third. But now it's time to go outside the box. A lot of those Mario games are cute little footnotes and not much more than that. But now, the rest of the franchises, that's where stuff gets interesting. Hope you like frogs and tomatoes. Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, two of the greatest games in Nintendo's handheld legacy. I don't think that could be disputed. Games that took the characters that we knew and loved and a bunch of the series staple mechanics that we're all accustomed to and twisted things just enough to create their own unique adventures and identities. However, little known fact, both of these games had relatively low-key predecessors in the form of Tomato Adventure and The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls for the Game Boy Advance and original Game Boy, respectively. And yes, these games stayed in Japan, but now they both have excellent fan translations, and that's awesome. Do you remember Richard from Link's Awakening? Maybe the assist trophy Prince Sable in Smash Bros. Well, those are both characters from Frog Game. Also in Smash, there's the Demille Spirit, where Isabelle gets stronger after eating Maxim tomatoes with Mario and Luigi music playing in the background. That's a reference! That's a Tomato Adventure reference, oh my god. The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls tells the story of a rivalry between two princes, Richard and Sable, where Richard is always the winner. Once a neighboring kingdom is in danger and Princess Tiramisu is captured, Richard goes out to save the day, with Sable following suit trying to catch up. And then, well, everyone turns into frogs. It happens. However, Sable is the one to discover a way to easily transform back and forth with his human form and eventually a snake form on top of that. And with that, it's Sable's time to become the hero he always wanted to be and discover the secrets the kingdom holds. And really, while some elements of this may bear a similar resemblance to Zelda, this is really its own thing. If anything, a lot of the wackiness with the off-the-wall characters that Link's Awakening is so known for, that is all over this game. The charm is immense, and the sprite work really gives off a ton of personality despite its simplicity. Like, eventually you go on a quest to find Wasabi for an employee of this company called Nintendo. It's awesome. Gameplay-wise, again, looks like Zelda, got the whole big world to explore and all that, but all of the dungeons here are presented in this side-scrolling platformer style, with very little in terms of actual puzzles. Rather than solving environmental puzzles with the tools that you gather along the way, this adventure is more about a balancing act of managing your items to change between your three forms for the sake of navigation and battling. And speaking of, the combat is really just a matter of touching an enemy, letting things play out, and then just kinda hoping that you have enough hearts by the end. This isn't a combat system. If an enemy is too tough, that means you're not allowed to get past them, and you have to go somewhere else. That's how they stop progress from just exploring wherever you want to go. And this constantly learning where you can and can't traverse to leads to a very unforgettable quest that only lasts a few hours and has next to no downtime. Yeah, there are some parts that I did have to check a guide because I thought I knew where I was going and I didn't, but it's a Game Boy game. I kind of expected that. Learning about the influence behind Link's Awakening is already important in my opinion, but it helps that The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls is one of the best games on the Game Boy. So many games on this console do not stand up nowadays, but this one, I'm telling you, this one's a gem. And also, on the topic of Zelda, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this one real quick. Marvelous, Another Treasure Island. This is an action RPG about 3 children solving puzzles and discovering secrets to find the marvelous treasure. And you may look at this as well and say, hey, also looks like a Zelda game, it looks like A Link to the Past. Yes, because this was, in fact, the very first game directed by Eiji Aonuma, who would go on to be the primary producer for Zelda games going forward. And again, similar to Frog Game, it may look like a Zelda clone, especially since the fan translation straight up uses the Link to the Past font, but this game also really does its own thing. There's no combat or dungeons to worry about, nothing like that. Just a bunch of puzzles in a giant area to explore. In a world where the Super Nintendo has provided some of the greatest RPGs of all time that all stand the test of time, it is worth checking out this hidden gem. But I digress. Back on the GBA side of things, Tomato Adventure. An adventure about tomatoes, kinda. By comparison, this adventure is nowhere near as special as The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls, but hey, it's a cutesy RPG by Alpha Dream, released nearly 2 years before Superstar Saga. And looking at all of the sprites with their bold outlines, these quirky tutorial sequences, and a unique timing-based battle system, it is clear to see where some of Superstar Saga's key features stem from. You get it? I said stem, because of a tomato. You are Demille, a kid who lives on the outskirts of the Ketchup Kingdom in Kobor Village, where you have been banished from the kingdom along with all of your friends because you all you guys don't like tomatoes. That's the reason. Tomato discrimination? Was that kid? You don't like Brussels sprouts? Well, I'm sorry, Jimmy. Guess you're going to hell. Eventually, you get to have a bit of a glimpse of the outside of the village with your friend, and then she gets kidnapped, and then you do the typical super simple RPG thing that you would come to expect, and it's fun, but when I mean simple, I mean really simple. Mario RPGs were always these sort of gateway RPGs, games that if you're not too in tune with the genre, they are perfectly easy to get into. But Tomato Adventure is one of the easiest RPGs I have ever played. Super charming, so that was enough to keep me going, and I was having a pretty good time, but if you saw this thing here and thought that this was gonna evoke like Xenoblade or Persona vibes, I hate to break it to you, but no. In fact, it's to be believed that this game didn't get localized because its target demographic was simply too young. Well, it's a good thing those Hamtaro games they published were so hardcore. I don't know what it was about the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo making games that they simply wanted nobody to play, man. Densetsu no Staffy, Kururin, Rhythm Tengoku, games that did see at least one iteration get an English release on different consoles across different regions, but we got Japanese exclusives here too, a bunch of them. Starfy in particular, and this one hurts my heart. Around the world, we got the legendary Starfy for the DS, and while that is great, they finally gave the series a shot outside of Japan, this is actually the 5th game in the series, with the first 3 on GBA and Game 4 on the DS as well. Now these adventures do feature a lot of text, so there are some story beats that non-Japanese speakers can't understand, but quite frankly, you still got these visuals of a starfish and a clam being dumb little guys underwater, helping their friends, all that fun stuff. I'm sure you can figure it out. You keep pushing forward, you spin to your heart's content until you get a bit of a headache, I can relate to that one, partake in a handful of minigames, occasionally ride with some animal mounts, that's flat out adorable, and you're in for a nice little time. It's basically like an easier Kirby game, but like the entire thing is a water level. That makes the game sound terrible, but that's not what I meant. The first 4 games in this series even start with the same first boss. They were pulling a Wispy Woods here too, the Kirby comparisons are totally appropriate. And with a total of 5 games in this series, you would think that some of the sequels would add some things to really change up the formula, and while that is certainly kinda true with some structural differences, you can even play as Starfy's sister Starly in the latter half of the series, for the most part, the further along you get with these games, it is just more of the same every time. Except Wario was in the 3rd game for some reason, for like a few minutes. Still trying to figure that one out. Love Starfy, love him to bits, I just want him to call home to let me know that he's okay. Kururin. So, PAL Territories were lucky enough to receive the first game in this series, but the sequels, Kururin Paradise and Kururin Squash, stayed in Japan. And similar to Starfy, these games are kinda just more of the same as the first game. They don't really change things up too much, but I'm still mad that they didn't get localized, okay? Why did Europe get the first Kururin game and not America? Do we hate spinning things, I guess? So for the uninformed out there, a Kururin is actually a toy. It's like this wooden stick that you would spin, and that's it. So let's take that idea, make a ship out of it, have a cute little bird command it, and throw them into these little puzzle rooms where you're constantly spinning, and you have to make it to the end without... Jesus Christ. It's all about learning the path, learning when to use the speed up function and when to take it slow, and whether or not you want to make your ship all squiggly as a cosmetic option. It's actually very important. Now to be fair, it's not like all 3 games are exactly the same. Paradise introduces a few mini-games that are a fun little distraction that do further the idea of spinning sticks, and then Squash, well, we're on the GameCube now. The control in the GBA games with the D-pad isn't much of an issue, but having full analog support in this one, Kururin Squash is beautiful. Plus now there's some additional mechanics, like being able to go underwater for a bit, you got some on-rail segments which are surprisingly tricky at times, and there's even combat with boss battles? What? Okay. What's possible with this formula definitely got stretched pretty thin by the 3rd game, but all in all, a really solid puzzle game trilogy that I am very upset it didn't come out here. There's no language barrier, there's no reason for them to not get localized, but here we are. But it's a good thing we got Odama. Rhythm Tengoku. I have been wanting to talk about this franchise on my channel for the longest time now. Oh my god, it's finally time. Rhythm Heaven is, without a doubt, one of my favorite Nintendo series ever. You mix WarioWare with Rhythm Game, featuring constant bangers from start to finish with these amazing soundtracks, and dare I say, the remix stages that compile multiple minigames into one song are some of the most satisfying gaming experiences Nintendo has ever provided. And you know, thanks to Beyonce in 2009, Rhythm Heaven was released worldwide for the DS, later followed by Fever on the Wii and Megamix on 3DS. Heaven, I guess, was too controversial a term in Europe, so it's Rhythm Paradise over there. Whatever, just play these games, they're amazing. However, yes, the series' roots can be found back on the Game Boy Advance with Rhythm Tengoku, with the commonly accepted fan name Rhythm Heaven Silver, since the DS game in Japan was Rhythm Tengoku Gold. Silver is worse than gold, so there you go, there's the logic. It plays almost exactly like the rest of the games in the series, which essentially boils down to needing to press buttons in a rhythm to react to other audio or visual cues. Constantly bouncing on sea life as a rabbit with pauses in between as you fly into the air super high up, hitting baseballs to the music while the screen keeps playing tricks on you. The tap dancing monkeys, oh my god, this game has tap dancing monkeys. For a few of the songs, there's even fully voiced audio. That's very impressive for the Game Boy Advance. Remix 5 in this game is an absolute jam. And even when you just finish the stages, which all things considered the campaign is very short, you have a bunch of other mini games that you can dive into. You can go for a perfect in every stage, which is very, very stressful, but very satisfying. I just want everyone to play Rhythm Heaven, man, okay? It's one of my favorite things, and Karate Joe deserves to be in Smash more than Kazuya. That's just a fact, I'm sorry. And God, would I ever kill to get that Rhythm Tengoku arcade cabinet in America. Holy, that's a thing of beauty right there. All those GBA games that we didn't get, why not? I mean, on top of the games I mentioned, there's Fire Emblem. The game that Roy starred in, dubbed Binding Blade, that is Japanese exclusive. You would think that the character having that smash rub would have gotten that game localized sooner, but nope, still only in Japan. There's the Bit Generation series of very little artistic puzzle games by the Chibi Robo developers, which are just neat and quirky. Some of them you can only still find via GBA cartridge, though thankfully these did continue with some of the games being ported over with the Art Style series on Wii and DS, so that's kinda nice. There was this motion-controlled puzzle game called Koro Koro Puzzle, which is super cool and way more interesting than Yoshi's stupid universal gravitation. The fact that Advance Wars somehow got localized is a flat-out miracle. That series had entries on the Famicom, Super Famicom, the Game Boy, but I guess they figured, hey, you know what? Those guys in the West, they like war way more than they like birds and spinning sticks. Let's fund that instead. Nintendo was really firing on all cylinders during the GBA generation. It's a good thing we did get most of their really, really great games. We got Minish Cap, Metroid Zero Mission, DK King of Swing. All I'm saying is we would have been much better off as a society if we got Famicom Mini Clue Clue Land. And if we're talking Nintendo and Game Boy here, there's arguably no better fitting franchise than Pokemon. As I mentioned before, of course we have Pokemon Green, an interesting starting point in the most financially profitable franchise of all time, and thankfully that is the only mainline game to stay overseas. However, when it comes to spin-offs, we have a lot more interesting little nuggets of software here. Like, you know how we got Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, where the minigames are the best part of the whole package? I think that's an objective fact. Well, in Japan, those two games are titled Pokemon Stadium 2 and Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver. Pokemon Stadium 1 in Japan it's just the battling part with just 40 of the original Gen 1 lineup. That's it. Why did they release this? You could still play your Game Boy games with the transfer pack, which, I mean, that's cool, I guess, but otherwise this game is pointless. The stadium that we all know and love released not even a year later, so why this blatantly unfinished product made it to store shelves is beyond me. There's probably a story attached to it, but I don't care. The Pokemon Company making a strange decision? Wow, that's unheard of. Did you know that there was a DS game in Japan that was more or less just a glorified tutorial for the trading card game? There's really not much more to Pokemon card game How to Play DS, and considering I don't play the TCG, nor do I speak Japanese, it's just a cool looking box to me. I like Gen 5, so having Gen 5 stuff like this, that's cool, that's the best part of the game. But what's even more interesting with the TCG is the proper little RPG they made for the Game Boy Color. I loved this as a kid. Obviously nowadays we're working on very dated mechanics, but it's such a cool pocket in time this is. Even me, someone who wasn't ever into the TCG, had a lot of fun with this. And they made a second one in Japan only? Pokemon Card GB2, Great Rocketdon Sanjo. Thankfully now with the fan translation, always gotta clarify that because man, now I can play this game to completion and that is very cool. It's more of the same as the previous game with new cards and some other changes like the ability to choose your player's gender. That's nice. But hey, you get to work towards taking down Team Rocket in this one. That's all I ever wanted to do as a kid. Why did this game not make the cut? It doesn't make any sense. But in my opinion, no Japanese exclusive Pokemon game struck my interest more than Pokemon Mystery Dungeon for WiiWare. That's right, for WiiWare. Yeah, if you thought the Rescue Team Remake was the first game in the series to release on consoles, sorry, no, you dumb, you big dum-dum. I can't believe you didn't know about Keep Going Wildfire Adventure Squad, Let's Go Tempest Adventure Squad, and Go For It Radiant Adventure Squad. Okay, that was a lot of words. I can see why they didn't localize these games now. Admittedly, I haven't gotten around to playing these yet. I definitely plan on checking out these Mystery Dungeon games in the future, but right off the bat, having one of these Mystery Dungeon games with the weird toy-like art design from the Rumble games, I can't say I'm a fan. Plus, it's the only game in this series to have 3 versions released at the same time, with bonuses unlockable by connecting them together. I don't know what expectations the Pokemon Company had with this very ambitious trio release for WiiWare of all platforms, but considering this is the actual follow-up to Explorers of Sky, which many kids have cited they have emotional trauma from, I really don't think this is something worth being upset about missing. A cool novelty, maybe I'm wrong with it being actually good, I'll give this game its time one day. One day. Man, and while we're on the topic of the Wii, the amount of games that we didn't get for that console too is astounding. Some of you may remember Operation Rainfall, a fan-made movement to convince Nintendo to localize Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora's Tower. 3 RPGs that showed a lot of promise that could have filled an otherwise dead schedule from 2011 to 2013. And while that's all fine and good, we obviously got those games and they're all great, like all 3 games are really good, especially Xenoblade. Dude, how did everyone else forget about Earthseeker, Zengeki no Regenleave, Line Attack Heroes, Disaster Day of Crisis, which released in Europe but not in America, f***ing Captain Rainbow? We may have gotten 3 heavy hitters, but we still missed out on some really good games that, only recently, all finally have fan translations, and they all come highly recommended. Earthseeker, to be fair, isn't a Nintendo published game, so that goes against the rules of what I was saying before, but I wanted to mention it anyway, it's my video, shut up. Let's start off with Line Attack Heroes, probably the least known of the bunch. This is a WiiWare game all about hacking and slashing enemies so they will then join your line of attackers, and then you can wipe out your opponent with ease. It's pretty straightforward. The goals may change, but how you get to the end basically remains the same. It's quirky, it's satisfying to control. For a game that had to stick to the WiiWare insane 40 megabyte file size limit, this gets a thumbs up from me. Quite frankly, any game that released on that service is a miracle. Plus, this is also the debut game for Grezzo, the studio that would later on remaster the 64 Zelda games for 3DS, remaking Link's Awakening and Miitopia for Switch, and making Street Pass Flower Crown for the 3DS as well, arguably their best work. So yes, this game is very notable. But now on to actual games. First off, we have Zengeki no Regenleave, or now fan-dubbed Blades of Regenleave. This is an action game all about taking down hordes of enemies in an effort to stop the apocalypse, Ragnarok. And that's kinda it. You can get a bunch of new weapons and gear and whatnot, but that's more or less the entire game. It's pretty jank, I'm not gonna lie, but it utilizes Wii Motion Plus, so it's right up there with Fling Smash. I can only complain so much. If this game were to have been localized, it likely wouldn't have won any awards, but a game of this style was something the Wii was desperately lacking. It would have totally been welcome. It even featured online co-op at the time. That's shockingly ambitious for that console. Being able to run around these large landscapes and take down huge monsters with some decent motion controls and some friends along the way, it's experiences like this that made me the Wii fan that I am. But no other game featured on this video encapsulates pure Japanese absurdity with the perfect amount of Nintendo magic like Captain Rainbow, brought to us by Skip Limited. Also known as the company Nintendo screwed over the most. You know about Chibi Robo, right? Yeah, those guys. We already discussed the bit generations and art style games in the past, but Chibi Robo is easily the thing that this company is the most known for. This cute and wacky adventure where you play as a little robot who just wants to clean up and make friends. It's just delightful all around. And it got multiple sequels with no actual pushing from Nintendo, so the series died a slow and painful death. I hate this company so much. We got a sequel on the DS with Park Patrol, but that was only released exclusively to Walmart. Then there was another DS sequel, however that stayed in Japan, which is crazy because while Park Patrol changed up the formula a little bit, and that was fine, this game with the now fan-translated title Clean Sweep plays like a proper follow-up to the original game, and it is just about as absurd and about house cleaning as you could want in a Chibi Robo game. But I mean, you saw what happened after Photo Finder and Ziplash. Chibi Robo was never given a chance. Hell, this little robot's adventure was the only title in the short-lived new Play Control series on the Wii to not get localized. Widescreen, some motion controls, and now thankfully there's a fan translation, so it's just as playable as the original GameCube version. This is really cool, and it would have given this game a second chance at life, but what do I know, I guess. Chibi Robo's story is just flat out tragic, because you can tell the series had a lot of love put into it when Skip tried to see their vision fulfilled to its fullest. Just the mere concept of putting a pretty regular character in an adventure filled with the wackiest cast you've ever seen, and you're just expected to accept anything thrown your way, was something that Skip had mastered. We missed out on another adventure too on the GameCube with Giftpia, which, yeah, it's exactly like that, so it's awesome. It was even originally set to release outside of Japan. It showed up at E3 2003, but nope, as we've discussed before, we're not allowed nice things. But this is all just my long roundabout way of going back to Skip's greatest work easily, Captain Rainbow. This game, oh man. Dude, it's like, okay, you are Nick, an ordinary guy who used to play a popular TV superhero, Captain Rainbow, and eventually you wake up washed up on Min Island, a land where wishes are set to come true, and you are now on a quest to regain your popularity. And it just so happens this land is filled with other washed up Nintendo characters. This is brilliant. You got some more well-known ones like Birdo and Little Mac, but he's fat now, that's hilarious. But also the army from Famicom Wars, Takamaru from the mysterious Murasame Castle, the devil from Devil World, and even Osan from NES Golf. Everyone said it used to be Mario, but nope, we found out here, it's Osan, and in this game he plays with his balls. His golf balls, you guys, he's a golfer, it's his golf balls. Get your mind out of the sand trap. Balls. Simply running around and trying to discover all of the island's secrets and helping out all these characters get their wishes granted, there is never a dull moment on this adventure. It is so good. Guys, okay, like, when Hikari here gets you to finally transform into the perfect body shape to fit this oddly specific hole in the back of her residence, wow, perfect, that Captain Rainbow just happens to fit in. You find a Famicom disk system in the back, I'm gonna lose it. There is no fan translation that I am more grateful to have access to than this one. It's excellent. When I first ran into Birdo in a jail cell, yeah, my curiosity certainly piqued. I've heard many a story about this interaction over the years, but I was still not prepared for what I got to experience here. So, it turns out, this robot here, Mappo, who's from Giftpia by the way, and Min Island's police officer, jailed Birdo because they were seen coming out of the women's restroom despite Mappo swearing they were a man, which leads to Birdo begging you to go to her house to find proof of her being a woman, to which you find a mysterious item that was vibrating under her pillow on her bed. But hey, it's okay, I eventually sent Birdo off into space, never to be seen again. She wanted this, I promise you. This game, this is one of the games of all time. From interesting little novelties like Donkey Kong Land 3 in color to Yoshi making Cookie Simulator, to grand adventures with fantastical worlds and unforgettable characters like the legendary Starfy and Captain Rainbow, there is so much that Japan got easy access to at retail that the rest of the world just missed out on. And it's still happening to this day. Buddy Mission Bond, why? That would be so cool. Sure, some of these games have found their way overseas in an official capacity in one form or another, but it's pretty safe to say that a majority of these games are locked behind emulation for only the most curious of fans to get to play. And if anybody watching this was ever responsible, even in the most minor sense, to any of the fan translations shown in this video, you have my most sincere thank you. I am a fan of everything Nintendo, man, not just of their heavy hitters, so being able to have all of these games that were hidden away for so long, just a few clicks away now, I'm gonna be expanding my Nintendo repertoire for a long time, and I highly recommend you all do the same. You're really missing out. I hope I encourage some of you out there to give these games a shot. You know, the modern gaming space can sometimes be filled with toxicity and console fanboyism. It's just sometimes not fun, and it's not worth it. If you ever want to deviate from the path and try something totally new, this is the place to do it, I guarantee. With some of these games, maybe not all, but some, you're gonna have a great time. Now, with that being said, that's all the time I've got. I'm gonna get back to playing Tingle's Balloon Fight on my Nintendo 3DS. I'm more fulfilled now. You ever hear the story of the really unpopular kid at school who grows up to have a really happy and successful life, and as a result, all the people who used to ignore them really want back into their life all of a sudden because, hey, now we care. That's the Wonderful 101. Not enough people got to experience this game. That's just an objective fact. And when you look at the history of it, I believe that's due to everybody. Like, there was so much going against this game when it first released, it didn't stand a chance. Platinum Games nowadays doesn't have the same reputation they did back when this title first released. The games under their belt were certainly really well made, but they were still on a more niche side of things. And when you look back to E3 2012, when Nintendo was really starting to hype up the Wii U, they, for some reason, left this out of their conference, revealed it at an interview segment shortly after, and the first part of the trailer is a close-up of character models that are far, far too blocky for their own good. Who thought this was a good idea? Why did Nintendo even care to get the exclusivity for this? Safe to say, it didn't make a strong first impression, mostly a confusing one. Later on down the road, after the Wii U was unleashed into the masses, we would get a dedicated Wonderful 101 Direct, with a brand new trailer clocking in at 7 damn minutes. Why? Why is it that long? Trying to convince people that this new IP is worth your time and you're gonna throw a short movie at them? It also shows so many different things going on, it's hard to tell just what this is trying to be. You tie all of this confusion together with the Wii U's general low sales and a demo that released on the eShop that did a pretty poor job convincing those who did have the console to buy the game due to a lack of a comprehensive tutorial leading to a frustrating experience. Yeah, like I said, didn't stand a chance. By the way, I love that Nintendo put Kamiya's Twitter handle right there, front and center. Yeah, go ahead and tweet at him, see what happens. But thanks to those who did play the game being very vocal about its quality, it grew a hardcore following over the years, and nowadays it's available on everything with a modern port thanks to a successful Kickstarter. I was actually given a review code for the game, so thank you so much, Platinum, for that, but even still, I supported the Kickstarter anyway. I wanted that nice physical edition that I can put on my shelf and proudly display. I didn't support them enough to be blocked by Kamiya on Twitter, as funny as that is, because I was already blocked by Kamiya because years ago I asked for more Wonderful 101. Can't write a better end to the story than that. Let's quickly address the elephant in the room here. The Wonderful 101 Remastered. The original release certainly did have some issues that had to be addressed, like the aforementioned poor way the first level lays so much on you, expecting you to know how to progress and not get pissed off while doing so. Here in the modern version, you can immediately go to the shop and buy some upgrades that are damn near required to enjoy that first stage. This is something you could do in the original, but Remastered drops the price dramatically to make sure that you know you are going to need them. Should have just given them to you automatically at that point, but hey, it's something. There's also the issue of the Wii U gamepad. Wonderful 101 was very much built with that controller in mind. The action is split between both screens very frequently. You did have the choice of a couple of different display options, but nothing was really all that ideal if you wanted a single screen experience. So how did Remastered handle this? I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know what else they could have done. To give the developers credit, whenever the primary gameplay goes to the second screen where you really need to focus, it'll just automatically swap the screens for you, rather than having you make a choice. It's still pretty jank, but I mean, that's what this adventure is. The entire two-screen setup would have to be completely redone to get rid of it in its entirety. And I mean, come on, the Kickstarter only made like 50 times its initial goal. Clearly, they didn't have the budget for that. Remastered. I guess it sounds better when you market the game that way, and to be fair, the lines between remaster and port have been getting kind of blurry over the years, but let's just call a spade here. This is just as much of a Wii U port as any other. You have Definitive Edition, Deluxe, New Funky Mode, Remastered. All of these words mean the same thing now. But that being said, The Wonderful 101 is one of my favorite games of the last decade, so I kind of just wanted to take a few minutes to rave about it. That's all. Let a man live. Let me be clear here. Looking back, those early trailers, they weren't wrong. There is a whole lot going on in this adventure, and if you're not caught up with Platinum Games' patented over-the-top crazy beat-em-up gameplay style, then you're probably gonna be a bit overwhelmed. That's just how this company works. But when things finally click, oh, it is so damn good, dude. It is so much fun. One could say it's
Wonderful!
That's all I think of when I hear that word now. The story here is honestly the simplest part of the whole equation. Alien terrorists of the evil Geth Jerk Federation are invading Earth, and you, Wonder Red, as a major player in the superhero organization, the Wonderful 100, decide to travel across the planet to gather all of the other wonderful ones and destroy the impending menace. That's kinda it from start to finish. Just go stop the aliens. Each chapter gives you a new villain to take down, a select few of the new heroes get glamorous introductions, and overall, you're just constantly moving forward to that eventual saving the Earth goal. It's all about the special characters that keep the story engaging. The overly heroic, almost to an annoying degree, Red, the suave and cocky with his Valiantium blade, Blue, big boy Frenchman always with a snack in hand, Green. Each of the heroes is so over the top on totally different parts of the personality spectrum. It leads to some incredibly entertaining cutscenes that pop up in between moments of the gameplay. So much so that it's almost better to purposefully fail at the many QuickTime segments because a funny little gag will play for each and every one of them. You know how with some of the early Crash Bandicoot games, death typically plays out in a comical fashion, easing some of the pain of losing a life? It's kinda like that here, except you're gonna want to see them on purpose. The only real downside of the plot here is Luca. I apologize to all the Luca fans out there, but this kid's a twerp. He does play a very integral role in the story, but that's just because he's so annoying. He's constantly getting in the way of your mission. Many times you're trying to keep him back and he just keeps doing his own thing, messing with your plans. He's the worst. You can look past him pretty easily, and I guess he does technically keep moving the plot forward, but yeah, all these years after my initial playthrough, he is still the worst. As far as the gameplay is concerned, you know, that thing that seemed to be all over the place in the initial trailers, it's actually primarily a pretty straightforward top-down beat-em-up with a really cool weapon swapping mechanic. Each of the main heroes you pick up along the way specializes in a different weapon, and in combat you can switch between them by drawing a specific shape with the right analog stick at any time. A circle for a fist, a straight line for a sword, a little squiggly line for a whip. I've seen many people mention how difficult it can be to really get the shape you're trying to draw, but I don't know, man. I've never had that issue. Sure, it takes some time getting used to, but isn't that the same for every game mechanic ever? Back on the Wii U version, you also had the option to draw the shape on the gamepad, and even with the Switch in portable mode and the PS4 with the touchpad on the controller, it is still possible to make those shapes without needing an analog stick, but I just never liked that. The game is simply too fast-paced for that. I would rather learn how to properly use the stick than have to take my hands off of the buttons just so I can try and draw and hope that I make the circle correctly. I also imagine that doing that with a DualShock 4 touchpad would be a nightmare. So yeah, just try to get good with using the analog stick. It's not that hard. The size of the weapon you make is important as well. It depends on the size of the shape that you draw, which is based on how many heroes you have on hand. While there are only a couple main character heroes, the worlds are littered with civilians that you're able to recruit just for that stage to boost your numbers. But there are also hidden heroes that upgrade that number permanently. The bigger the number, the better chance you have of dealing more damage. And with some extra add-ons that you can purchase in the in-game shop, you can even send some heroes out in real time to do some basic attacks while you lay out some more hits yourself. It may seem like a lot, but it's actually really straightforward to pull off, and it's a great way to really confuse your friends who you're trying to convince this is easy to control. I've been there, I've tried. Oh yeah, and all of those extra heroes that you pick up, they're great as well. A beer drinker, a magician, a nun. Dude, even Santa is joining the fight. Listen, all I'm saying is you should put Santa Claus in Smash. He totally deserves it. Do it, you cowards. The campaign is cut up into different chapters, most of which containing 3 stages, and each of them taking place in different locations. While the majority of the game is running around from mission to mission, trying to find all the collectibles, and beating up any robots that stand in your way because how dare they? Suddenly baseball. Yeah, the Wonderful 101 is not afraid to change things up. This is kind of what they were referring to with those initial trailers being all over the place. The game can occasionally be all over the place. There are so many different contextual special gameplay styles that'll happen when you least expect them, with entirely new control schemes to wrap your head around. You're still working towards the same objective, and a lot of what goes on in the primary gameplay does leak over into these unique styles, but how you get to that end goal changes whenever the game feels like it. When you finally figure out what's being asked of you and you're pulling off these crazy, flashy combos and getting shiny rewards as a result, it is so damn satisfying. Replayability is highly encouraged here. It's not required to attempt challenges over and over again just so you can kind of succeed, but all you gotta do is go back to the first stage after putting in some hours into the campaign. Your squad is a lot larger now, you've purchased and unlocked a bunch of new abilities, your eye is a lot more tuned in to finding a bunch of collectibles, and there's also a ton of achievements to go for as well, all working towards even more special heroes, and you'll probably see for yourself that you're getting a whole lot better at controlling this game. And the bosses, oh my god, the bosses. A good boss battle should take everything that you've learned along the way and put it all together for one epic challenge. And that is a game-wide constant. They are so good. The set pieces are really memorable, diplomacy has failed, the action is non-stop, diplomacy has failed. We get some of the best QuickTime events the gaming industry has ever produced. The music always ramps up and we get this awesome and cheesy vocalized theme song. It is so good. And did I mention diplomacy has failed?
Diplomacy has failed. Diplomacy has failed.
This dude says that a lot. It's in these moments where Platinum Games is at their best, almost as if it's a gift for learning how to properly play the game. You're treated to feeling awesome and super satisfied. That being said though, I would love to just toss endless praise here, but there are still a few frustrations. Overall, the game does get way better the more familiar you are with every aspect of it, but if you're, I don't know, a normal person who likes to play video games once and that's it, be prepared to really hate turtles. Things are meant to get really hectic, but that also means things can possibly get too hectic. Sometimes you think you know how to take down the enemies, but it'll just result in you mashing buttons endlessly and hoping for the best. And some of these obstacles, like enemies with really big spiky shields, they end up feeling more like a chore than a challenge. Once again, once you learn the most effective way of handling everything the game throws your way, it's awesome, but a lot of the times that's the result of you figuring things out for yourself. And while most of the bosses are super good, the battles against Prince Vorkin and his goons, they blow. It's a novel idea, you know, you and your squad fight a similar antagonist and his squad. Suddenly it is an absolute cluster of a battle where the game really can't seem to decide whether its established rules make sense or not. Some attacks you think you can dodge and reflect you suddenly can't, and vice versa. What you need to do to successfully counter can be pretty vague when you're in the moment, and considering your overall grade improves for taking little to no damage, these are the only parts of the game where getting pure platinum trophies seems like an impossibility, which is an opinion I know I'm not alone in having, and it's kind of bizarre that the difficulty didn't get adjusted for this remastered version. This was the same issue back in the 2013 Wii U release. And speaking of negatives, going for full completion can be a bit annoying as well. There are so many collectibles in every stage, and there is nothing in-game that even hints to where most of them are. You just have to have a really keen eye for like a window that seems darker than all the others because it's open apparently, and there you go. There's a thing. If you want to be a completionist, I can see a very lengthy reading of a walkthrough in your future. Luckily though, these are the only negatives I can come up with within an otherwise masterpiece of an action game. It's just so damn good, man. The Wonderful 101 is one of my favorite games in a long time. 7 years after the initial release, my opinion still stands. I just really want people to play this game, man. It is so good, it did not get the respect it deserved, and I didn't even scratch the surface of all the cool stuff that happens in this entire adventure. You deserve to see it all for yourself. It is so good. Now that the game is available on every console, including PC, you have no excuse. A lot's changed for Platinum over the years. You know, you look at games like Bayonetta 2 and Astral Chain. These games are not only really good, but really successful. And in my opinion, the Wonderful 101 is right up there, if not better, than its contemporaries. I have waited 7 long years to shine another spotlight on this game. It totally deserves it. And if you let it slip through your fingers once again, I swear, I'm gonna be very sad. And that would be the opposite of...
Wonderful!
So now you have to play it. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. You want to talk about being divisive in the Zelda franchise? Well, boy howdy, look no further than here. I feel like for most other 3D Zelda games out there, you can find some pretty healthy debates on the good and bad sides to each of them. Wind Waker's water traversal, the 3-day system in Majora's Mask, Midna being objectively the best partner Link has ever had. That is a fact, it's been said in a YouTube video, so it is the absolute truth. Skyward Sword though, bring up the controls just for a second and the pitchforks come out. I am really simplifying the conversation here, but ultimately I have one goal with this video. Skyward Sword HD is finally here, and one of the selling points of it is an attempt to mitigate a lot of the issues people had with the original release all those years ago. Is Skyward Sword actually good? Now, full disclosure, for most of you out there, the Switch version will obviously be the one that you're familiar with, because the old version is stupid and old. I get it. But for the footage in this episode, I ran the original Wii version through Dolphin to make things look, you know, at least kinda similar to the official HD product, so bear with me here. Oh, but Ant, this means that you're playing the games with the terrible motion controls. Come on now, they're terrible. Okay, so a bit of a different take right off the bat, I guess. I actually really like the motion controls, and for me, they played a crucial part in my initial enjoyment of the whole game. Motion controls on the Wii were always very hit or miss, but when specifically talking about Wii Motion Plus, well, I mean, we got Wii Sports Resort, Wii Play Motion, Red Steel 2, of course Skyward Sword. When developers knew how to fine-tune things to their favor, we got some really fun and immersive experiences out of this technology. We did also get the Garfield Show Threat of the Space lasagna, but you know, you take the good with the bad. This is also the only big Zelda game the Wii could call its own, so its use of motion controls isn't really that much of a surprise. A game like this was something people were begging for ever since the Wii was initially a thing. Yeah, there is Twilight Princess as well, but I mean, come on, technically it's still a GameCube game, and I don't think anybody cares about crossbow training, so yeah, Skyward Sword it is. I often see the game's issues boiled down to 2 primary arguments. First, obviously, the controls. Now, points to the Switch version immediately because that game includes the ability to do motion controls with the Joy-Cons as well as standard controls with the Pro Controller or in handheld mode. That's awesome. You whippersnappers out there don't have to deal with this adventure being motion controls or bust anymore. As much as I did enjoy the controls, having more options is never a bad thing. They did the same thing to Super Mario Galaxy when that was ported to the Switch, and I think that is realistically the best approach to take when it comes to official ports of Wii games. But regardless, a ton of the mechanics here were made with the sole intention of making you really feel like you're Link. If I were to be so dumb and cliche, swinging the sword by swinging the controller, doing an underhand swing to bowl a bomb, tilting with really fine detail to maneuver a flying beetle. These are all things that I love, but I could never fault others who couldn't look past it. At this point, your whole life, you're probably used to playing Zelda a specific way with a specific control scheme, but even still, many preferred Twilight Princess on GameCube over Wii simply because they didn't have to move their hands to do attacks. The motion control stuff was always the afterthought in my opinion. The pointer controls, that's what shined in these Zelda games, and that's why gyro is so good in modern Zelda games. That being said, I'm not really sure why some act like these sword controls result in you needing to swing the controller like you're overly caffeinated. No, like, if anything, for the most part, combat in this game is designed in such a way for you to be slower and more thoughtful in your movements, so taking out enemies that block some directions and not others is actually really satisfying. The Lizalfos always block a specific direction, you got these 3-headed lizard things that have a specific direction you gotta swing in. That stuff's pretty cool. Oh, and those eyeball doors to where you gotta swing the sword in a circle to make them dizzy, that stuff I really like. But looking past that, I mean, there are mechanics like swimming by tilting, shaking for extra stamina boost. Stabbing is the one element of Wii controls I was never a fan of. I can swing in any direction I wanted to and it worked perfectly every single time, but if I ever had to stab something, I could never get it to work. After going through the entire adventure all over again, it does at times feel like Nintendo was more focused on getting as many, quote, immersive opportunities in here without factoring in how fun they actually are. I just never want to carry pumpkins ever again, you guys. And arguably the best thing to come out of the controls for this game are the controllers. Getting that beautiful golden Wii remote for the original release, these Sword and Shield Joy-Cons for the re-release, oh, Oh, they're gorgeous. And actually, this reminds me, this means the Switch version lacks the how to set up your Wii Motion Plus video from the title screen. Can we really call the HD version the definitive one if we don't have the Wii Motion Plus instructional video in it? Nah, realistically, Nintendo also probably wanted to re-release this just so they can have a version of Skyward Sword out there without a game-breaking bug in it. Yeah, for those not in the know, in the original, if you do one of the final missions in a very particular order, you can lock yourself out of progression. It is really close near the end of the game too, and that sucks. It's easy to pull off, but thankfully easy to avoid as well, and since Wii games could not be patched, Nintendo actually released a save data saving channel, still downloadable off of the Wii shop at the time of this video by the way, that will patch your save data to fix things. But thanks to the Switch version having the new button controls, that leaves the second primary argument against Skyward Sword: the adventure is just too repetitive and otherwise uninteresting, and this, as much as I do like the game, I can actually get behind this idea. Outside of the main village of Skyloft, there are only 3 primary locations: Farron Woods, Eldin Volcano, and Lanayru Mines. And in my opinion, the game has a great art style, so it makes it kind of exciting to explore these areas. This sorta mishmash of Twilight Princess's realistic proportions, Wind Waker's bright and vibrant color palette, and you throw in a watercolor finish, the game looks really good. But when you look past that, these are pretty uninspired locations, to be honest, with only a couple fascinating set pieces and charming new species to call their own, and compared to other locations from past Zelda games, it doesn't really amount to a whole lot. Listen, I will protect a Kikwi with my life, but for the most part, meh. Grass area, desert area, lava area. Again, some cool stuff happens within them, but overall, they're just very uninteresting. And it is a damn good thing Zelda and Groose are such strong characters too, man. Design-wise, the residents of Skyloft and some others across the skies are varied and interesting, but it is a fairly bland cast of characters. On my revisiting of this adventure, I remembered most of these people based on how they looked versus what they actually do. But thankfully, we have the high school movie villain with Groose and the grounded childhood friend of Zelda with a much greater calling in life to give you just enough motivation to see where these characters will go as the adventure progresses. There are reasons why all these years later people are still upset that Groose never made it into Hyrule Warriors. You have probably heard people say at this point that this Zelda is one of the best, and yeah, that still holds true. This character is fantastic. She does try to kill you once or twice, which is not something I would be looking for in a friend, but hey, I actually want to save her after she gets kidnapped, so I think that's a job well done. Not as good as Spirit Track Zelda, but that's neither here nor there. But when it comes to those 3 different areas throughout the adventure, you explore them 3 different times. And every time you return, they expand a little bit, usually leading to a new series of challenges or dungeons, and that idea is neat. You know, let's try and really give these areas a lot of depth and intricacy as it evolves over time, but it actually has the opposite effect. It kind of makes it feel like the world runs out of interesting things to do once you're 1/3 of the way through the game, and it just hopes that you can look past it. It does not help that backtracking is also done via air travel with your loft wing, very clearly in my eyes trying to recapture the magic of Wind Waker's ocean, but I don't know, it just doesn't hit as good. It is really hard to top a mechanic that houses one of the greatest video game music tracks of all time, to be fair. Also, is it just me, but doesn't the loft wing look like a less cartoony version of the bird from Mario Galaxy 2, which released around the same time? I think Nintendo's trying to tell us something, I'm just not sure what. There are some interesting islands scattered throughout the sky, usually housing a fun minigame or a character that might have something for you to do, but more times than not, you just go from Skyloft to one of the glowing pillars of light over and over and over again, making things feel super linear, and yes, it does get old. And it makes the adventure feel like it goes on for 10, maybe 15 hours too long. In my opinion, it never feels like you're exploring a world, you're just going to different levels, and I'm not really sure how many others will agree with me on this, but when a Zelda game doesn't really feel like you're exploring a cohesive world, that is definitely a disappointment. And then there's the matter of your partner, Fi. I don't really think she's as annoying as many others claim she is, but if her endearing character trait is supposed to be just constantly assessing situations with percentages, as well as occasionally stopping you in your tracks to warn you about things, then yeah, I'd rather go this adventure alone, honestly. That being said, if you can look past those issues and focus on the dungeons that you eventually travel to, then oh boy, okay, this is where Skyward Sword really shines. The dungeons are so good. It's probably no real surprise dungeons were always a Zelda highlight, but for all of the missteps Skyward Sword has taken, dare I say, some of these dungeons are the best in the entire franchise. The Ancient Cistern, dude. Oh my god, this is the one. It's the best. You got this huge statue that really holds some great secrets when you're outside it trying to figure out how to manipulate its location going up and down, and you have some really fun water traversal, satisfying swinging mechanics, and this is also where the game's art style shines the brightest as well. The contrasting cool and warm colors, the watercolor effect looks fantastic here. It's just so good to look at. When people debate what the best dungeons of individual Zelda games are, this is definitely in that conversation because man, it is so good. Second to that though, in my opinion, are the time stones in the desert dungeons because ooh, this is such a cool mechanic, dude. Hitting them changes the time in the surrounding area with some elements like enemies and doors being active in only one time frame and not the other. And when you're in the sand ship and you gotta find these really clever ways to hit the one time stone that's all the way at the top of the boat through windows and stuff like that, oh my god, it's so cool. The ball rolling in the Earth Temple is really fun. I won't even get into the tile swapping stuff near the end of the game. I gotta keep some things spoiler free here. But yeah, man, overall, fantastic dungeon lineup. It also helps that the bosses are really fun too. Like I said before, the combat is designed for you to be more thoughtful and methodical in your movements, and attaching that idea to the typical Zelda boss design of using the item you just got in the dungeon to expose their weaknesses, it makes for some really memorable encounters. Not necessarily difficult, one of the issues that plagued Twilight Princess's bosses is here as well, but you know what? I don't care. Koloktos is an amazing boss, and he's in the Ancient Cistern. Another reason that's a top tier dungeon. I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but ripping off his limbs and using the giant swords to slash this huge creepy metallic beast to shreds, every single boss in this game is great. Except for the imprisoned. You knew I was gonna talk about this. You put him right there next to the pumpkins, man. If I never have to deal with him one more time and his big wiggly toes, I will not be upset about it. Man, having a boss that you fight in the overworld is such a cool idea. Why did we waste it on this giant fuzzy bean? I am also a big fan of the silent realms they start implementing partway through the adventure. Once you start returning to the three main areas, the game expects you to really know them inside and out, because now you gotta run around them itemless in order to collect tears. Twilight Princess throwback, I see you. Except this time you get to live out everyone's nightmares of being chased by something big and scary, and yeah, better hope you don't touch water or get caught in a spotlight, cause then you'll wake up the bad guys and they'll kill you. But it's funny because this is one of the segments that I hear people complain about a lot. A lot of people apparently don't like the Silent Realms, but I do. These are some of the best areas in the game for me. Like I said before, this game is pretty divisive. Now the Tad tones on the other hand, yeah, these suck. They're terrible. Put them right up there with the pumpkins and the imprisoned. I never want to do this again. Skyward Sword is in this weird gray area. The dungeons are fantastic. A lot of the motion control inspired mechanics are really good, leading to some of the best moments of the game. But as a whole, the adventure, it's just kind of meh. In my opinion. I have to say in my opinion, otherwise a lot of people are going to get more mad at me than they already will. Obviously, it all boils down to just how much these are issues to you, but the repetitions in some of these locations, the linearity to get where you need to go, Fee holding your hand when things get a tad too confusing, the most disgusting amount of backtracking I have seen in this franchise. It doesn't make the game bad, but to say this is a mid-tier adventure would be really putting it lightly. The most freedom you get comes with these side quests and the collectibles, and this whole thing is just kind of okay. You got materials and catchable bugs all over the place, which allow you to upgrade items and potions back in Skyloft. Neat idea. Maybe more useful in the harder hero mode, but otherwise, a pretty unnecessary feature. You could upgrade the slingshot to fire more pellets at once, you could upgrade the net to be bigger when you want to catch bugs, you can take any potions that you buy and make them more effective, but because the game is so easy and straightforward as it is, you never really get to appreciate these upgrades or wish that something that wasn't upgraded was. Like I said, cool idea, but in execution, pretty unnecessary. And then you got the gratitude crystals, the reward that you get for helping out other people in the village. Or, like, finding them scattered around in the grass or something. I don't know, maybe the lawn is happy and it's grateful for it. I don't understand this part. This is where the villagers really get the chance to show some personality, and it is a fairly decent effort at that. You gotta help Fledge deal with his stamina issues. You gotta find this baby's rattle. You gotta clean this woman's house. Scar this love-struck schoolboy for life by either forcing him to watch the girl he likes get with someone else, or you partner him with a ghost hand instead. You know, the typical Zelda flair. But, back to the original question, is Skyward Sword actually good? Well, yeah, duh. Obviously. Objectively, this is a fantastic game. Whether or not you agree with some of the directions the game took, that is a totally different topic. The dungeons are great, the mechanics are solid, the main characters are super likable, the art style, fantastic, but overall, I do think this game is overall pretty mid in the entire scope of the series. And that's okay. The best part about Skyward Sword being on the Switch now is there are far less excuses for first-timers to give this adventure a shot and come up with their own conclusion. Considering the original release is one of the worst-selling games in the franchise, there are more Zelda fans out there that have not played this game than you probably think. And while internet discourse might have you believe that this is easily the most hated game in the franchise because it's terrible, it's bad, it's stupid, Fee is dumb and won't shut up, I also know that for many others, this is actually their favorite. And from a conversational point of view, I can and will always appreciate, for the entire series really, that the community can look at and play the same thing and have such wildly different reactions to it. As long as you're not mean about it, it is worth having that conversation. Like, personally, I would say Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are better than Skyward Sword. It'll always be hard to top those in my opinion, but I also think I would be more willing to give this another playthrough before going back to Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. That last sentence just invalidated the entire video, didn't it? Wow. Wario is far and away one of the most prolific characters in the entire Mario universe. As a character, well, I mean, he's disgusting, rude, very greedy. Did I mention disgusting? Yeah, you know, he's just a vile human being. But damn, believe it or not, his video game career is far more interesting than that of, say, Yoshi or Donkey Kong. Those two may have higher highs of adventures for sure, but Wario definitely has the weirdest weirds. See, you may think you know a thing or two about Wario because you played a WarioWare game here or there, but I'm here today to tell you things go so much deeper than that.
Oh my god!
This is also going to be a bit of a response to how I feel like the Wario back catalog is so underappreciated. Now sure, the WarioWare series is fantastic, those games are really good, they deserve all the respect in the world, but that is only one of the 3 pillars of Wario. You see, it's like a W. Of course, we got WarioWare, like I just said. I'm assuming most of you are already well familiar. We have the second pillar being Wario Land, the series that brought the character to the dance in the first place. But pillar 3, that's kind of like, what? Like many other Mario side characters out there, the amount of appearances Wario has made over the years is staggering. Sure, if Mario's out there playing a sport, Wario is sure to follow suit and mess things up. That is no surprise, but I'm talking about showing up in places you would never expect. Wario's a bit of an odd guy, you know. Why would you expect not to be playing Densetsu no Staffy 3 on Game Boy Advance, make it to World 8, and then have him randomly drop in to help you out on your journey? Why not? He has a starring role as the worst character in Super Mario 64 DS. I mean, someone had to have that role, it was definitely gonna be him. Baby Wario exists. A consistent reminder that we should be living in constant fear, especially since the mobile Dr. Mario World game gave him a PhD. That's not gonna be good. He has a prominent role in the Mario Picross games in Japan, where he apparently takes the job very seriously. And then we got something like Mario vs. Wario, a pretty nifty puzzle game that actually takes advantage of the Super Nintendo mouse. That dastardly Wario is at it again. He put a bucket on Mario's head. What an evil mastermind. Is that really all it takes to remove any free will from Mario? He just walks like a lemming throughout the entire game, that's it. Just a bucket. Bowser versus Bucket, Bucket always wins. It's sort of like one of the newer Mario vs. Donkey Kong games actually. Just help the auto-moving character get to Luigi, who's just meandering around for some reason, and don't die along the way. A pretty cool SNES footnote, like how it's the debut and only appearance of Wanda the Fairy, everyone's favorite, but not much more. On the other side of the puzzle spectrum, we have Wario's Woods. This one is a little bit more well-known, I believe. Wario takes refuge in a forest, and Toad is not okay with that. So with the help of another random fairy, no relation to Wanda, blows up every living thing in sight so we can get Wario out of there. As one does. I always somewhat enjoyed Wario's Woods. It's a neat enough puzzle game with some really solid music, and it's the answer to the trivia question, what is the final officially licensed NES game in the US? Kinda cool. Clearly, Nintendo loves this fact. This game has gotten re-releases so many times over the years, while the superior Super Nintendo version has received 0. Yeah, the re-releases may have you think this game doesn't exist, but it does, and it is more or less the same game, but with better graphics and sounds. And there's also a 1v1 story mode featuring characters such as... Katsini, Galrog, Mr. Boo. Okay, now I know why this game never got re-released. But it doesn't get any weirder than Wario Blast featuring Bomberman for the Game Boy. Yes, a Wario Bomberman crossover, a reskinned version of Japan's Bomberman GB. I guess they didn't think that was gonna sell, so let's put Wario there for some reason. The story goes, Wario managed to hop into an extra-dimensional portal on his quest to conquer new lands and find new treasure, and just happened to stumble into the world of Bomberman. That's amazing. You could use that as a plot point for any Wario crossover. Why did you stop with Bomberman? And for any of the confused Bomberman fans out there, yes, this is Japan's Bomberman GB, which is different than America's Bomberman GB, which was actually Bomberman GB2 in Japan, and also, on the American box art, features a Bomberman with a gun.
For his neutral special, he wields a gun.
Now, when it comes to WarioWare, the reality of the situation is, while those games are good, you kinda get a similar vibe with every single game. You have a great microgame fill time, 9volt is gonna give you a fantastic Nintendo history lesson, and then you're gonna move on. You only got 5 seconds, you gotta move on, and you gotta learn quick. Even when microgames weren't the focus in Game & Wario, or we had weaker microgames but a microgame creator in DIY, those games are fantastic and I highly recommend basically every single one of them. Just don't play WarioWare Snapped. Snapped is trash. It was trash on the DSiWare service. It was like only 25 minutes long, meant to use the camera. It's not good. Not good at all. But look how funny my face is. But today, I want to talk about what I consider to be the best pillar of Wario, Wario Land. This series of platformers spans across the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, even on consoles. You got a couple of spin-offs, and I gotta tell you, this series is fantastic. It all begins with the Game Boy classic Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins, one of Mario's most original adventures and in my opinion, one of his greatest. Most of you know this by now, Bowser wasn't the villain in this one, it was the debuting Wario. He took control of Mario's castle while he was off in Sarasa Land trying to save Daisy in the first Mario Land game, and also Mario has a castle apparently. I guess we're just gonna forget about this one. This may seem all fairly random with Wario showing up out of nowhere, but actually, per an official comic from Nintendo Power titled Mario vs. Wario, no relation to the game of a similar name, details the two's childhood friendship, where, in retrospect, Wario felt as if the relationship was incredibly one-sided, and decided to get revenge 20 years later. This is a pretty fun comic in general, actually. Seeing the events of Mario Land 2 in a different light and getting to see kid versions of these characters acting like kids is really charming. It's not like they were just babies with Yoshi, managed to find a PhD along the way, and then boom. Mustache. They must have been living a life. Let's see what that was like. The Mario and Wario dynamic was meant to mimic the rivalry between Popeye and Bluto, and combined with the Japanese word waruri, meaning bad, thus leaving the opportunity wide open to simply flip Mario's M on his cap to a W, it all really wrote itself. Also, the yellow color is like right in between red and green on the color wheel, so even then, that made sense too. Everything about Wario's creation was perfect. But in his very first appearance, well, none of it mattered. A noble effort for sure. I was always a fan of boss fights where the opponent has access to the same powers the hero does, but regardless, guaranteed failure. Even still though, Wario wants a castle to call his own, damn it, which leads us to the events of Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. Ignore the Mario Land part, it's like Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, it's just to sell a few more copies and that's it, don't worry about it. Right off the bat, the Wario universe is established as something totally different than anything Mario has done before. Here we are on Kitchen Island, where the fearsome Captain Syrup, with the help of her brown sugar pirates, stole a massive statue of Princess Peach. Yeah, we got a big food theme going on here. Rice Beach, Mount Teapot, SS Teacup. Food is not even a major theme of the game, but sure, why not? Wario's a big guy, let's talk about food for a second. Captain Syrup is going down. And so, in an effort to stand up to his old rival, as well as make some money along the way, Wario sets off on an adventure the likes of which Mario fans hadn't experienced before. For one, things are a lot slower now. Since scrounging up money is the name of the game, exploration plays a strong component here. Many of the stages are the typical linear fare, but throughout the entire island are a bunch of hidden exits, but more importantly, 15 hidden treasures. And to get to those, as well as Captain Syrup's whereabouts, Wario's gotta get through some strange areas and take down even stranger baddies. Except for these little gator dudes. They're not strange, I love them. Everything about this adventure is just sorta surreal. Enemies are just sorta placed haphazardly about, any ones that do stand in your way don't stand a chance up against your massive girth, and a lot of the music has a very eerie vibe to it. What's that, you want to finally exit the level? Well, you can't until you pay a little toll. Sure, the enemies may not pose much of a threat, but maybe the bosses do. Yes, here we go, the floating head shooting lava rocks out of his nose. Of course, the video game staple. I love this little penguin dude that's an optional boss later on in the game. This is like one of the ugliest dudes I've ever seen. Everything, just everything was done to have Wario operate essentially on the same playing field as Mario, but do things just a little different here and a little different there. It's not anything that we're unfamiliar with nowadays, but this was definitely a pretty bold direction to take back in the early 90s. Ooh, and that final trek to Syrup Castle too. Look at those wavy effects, dude. This is clearly where all the budget went. Like Mario Land 2 before it, making your way to the final boss feels surprisingly imposing. It also helps that said final boss is a freaking genie. Okay. You see, along her travels, Captain Syrup just happened to find a genie lamp and decides to use her wish to defeat Wario. But of course, is defeated himself. I mean, even though he's gigantic, that's still gonna stand no chance against Wario and his gigantic arms and his gigantic butt. Hey, look at that! The Peach statue was in the entire castle the whole time! It is finally ours for the taking. Dude, Mario sucks. But it's alright. Based on how much treasure you got on your journey, you can use your one genie wish to finally get the castle of your dreams. Pick up those 15 treasures along the way, and then boom, Mario wishes his castle was this cool. Not really sure why you have one wish for a genie, but you gotta pay him to get the thing you want. There's like a whole bunch of endings that change depending on how much money you have by the end of the game, so that's kind of weird, but okay. Or if you manage to max out your final coin count to all 9s by playing the game legitimately, or cheating by constantly pausing the game, pressing select 16 times, and manipulating the UI to max out your coin count for the final tally of every single level. Man, I miss cool cheat codes so much. You can get something a little extra. You don't get just a simple little castle that way, you get your own Wario planet. And he can breathe in space too, apparently? Man, Wario works in mysterious ways. All these years later, the original Wario Land still holds up fantastically. It's a little slow for sure, which can sometimes be a bit annoying, but overall, this is easily some of the best platforming the original Game Boy has to offer. But before we jump onto Wario Land 2, let's first take a quick detour to the Virtual Boy. That console deserves a little bit of credit, one mention a year. That's all it gets. Virtual Boy Wario Land is notorious for 2 reasons. 1, it is the only game on the console people can agree on it actually being pretty good, and 2, it was featured in my very first ever Mario month, so that's pretty cool too. Now yes, best game on the Virtual Boy is definitely like the lowest bar imaginable, but if you have any inkling of checking out this console, don't waste your time with Teleroboxing, you know what I'm saying? It's a similar premise, go and find some treasure and beat up some weird looking goofs along the way, except this time, whoa, it's like I'm really playing Virtual Boy Wario Land. Of course, we had to have some sort of 3D element shoehorned into this one. It doesn't really add a whole lot to the game. There have been games nowadays like Mutant Mudds that do the same exact thing and better, but hey, for what it is, and considering the time era this came out in, it's fine. There's just not really much to this one, honestly. It's a solid platformer, but each level kinda blends together. It's just the fact that it's competent that makes it seem like such a big deal on the Virtual Boy. The only part of this adventure that really leaves a lasting impression is Demon Head. Dude, imagine seeing this nose in 3D, it would be terrifying. Its lack of depth, no pun intended, really shouldn't be that much of a surprise. Let me just quickly revert the colors back to the red real quick. Yeah, you gotta remember, this is the only console that actively encouraged you to not play its games that often, so enjoy it while you can, but maybe keep some ibuprofen nearby if you play this on real hardware. Which is really the biggest shame of it all too, because the 3DS port was one of the most obvious things in the world for Nintendo to do, and they never did it. What? Nintendo made a dumb decision that actively encouraged emulation even though they could have easily prevented it? Wow, that's crazy. Wario Land 2 though, this is where the series really starts to hit its stride. Captain Syrup is at it again, this time making it personal, infiltrating Wario's castle to steal his treasure. Oh, but they do much more than that. They turn on a big faucet. Oh man, Wario's weird. The core exploration, money-gathering gameplay is still here, but now it is executed in a radically different way. For one, it's a lot faster. Wario may be big and bulky, but he's actually super agile too. That iconic shoulder tackle makes a much stronger impact here, no pun intended, than it has before. The levels are also much bigger, and the enemies are a lot more twisted in their methods. Wario's flat now. So this is Wario's big new gimmick. You know, Mario can gather items that can make him more powerful, but Wario, dude is immune to death apparently. Let's see how much we can do without raising the game's age rating, you know? Actually, wait, no. Wario literally dies in this one, oops. Fun fact, there's this one form called Crazy Wario that happens when these big penguin dudes hit you with like a ball, I guess. Well, in the Japanese version, they actually are throwing beer at you, and they make you drunk instead. What do you mean Nintendo of America wasn't cool with one of their main characters drinking alcohol? I don't understand what you're talking about. Kirby was making mixed drinks back in Kirby's Adventure, but said nothing about actually consuming them. Come on now, be realistic. The immortality really changes how you handle obstacles too. You are, to be honest, just more threatening than anything you come across, so if you screw up, your main punishment is simply an annoying setback. And this dynamic, in my opinion, really works. You want treasure and you want it now, and you will do literally anything to get to it. Even if it means getting stung by a bee when you're allergic, by God, there's treasure at the end of that allergy. I will make it work. Speaking of, treasures are handled a bit differently as well. Hidden throughout levels are doors that feature matching game puzzles, with the hardest difficulty being some real blink and you miss it type nonsense. Holy cow, that's fast. As well as the end of those levels having a matching number game, used to unlock pieces of a map to eventually access the final level. And by the way, that final level, that's the weirdest of them all too, dude. The walls have like faces and stuff in it, and you just have to accept it. They never explain why this is the way it is. You're going after pirates here. Why is there a face? Alright, at least I get my treasure back, I guess. Just gotta deal with a few mentally scarring issues, but hey, no worries. And soon enough into your adventure, you also kinda realize that there may be way more puzzles than there are actual levels. That's kinda weird. Well, that's because there are actually some alternate pathways. There aren't just a small handful of secret exits for the sake of having secret exits. By changing how you finish a select handful of levels, it ends up putting you down a totally different path with a unique set of stages and boss fights. For example, at the start of the adventure, Wario wakes up to a very loud alarm, then you go out on your way. But what if you decide to sleep through it? Yeah man, why not? Secret pathway unlocked. Ultimately, this doesn't really add a ton to the overall journey. The secret exits are actually pretty easy to find once you have the flow chart, but they're still pretty cool more than anything else. And considering how varied these locations are, and you never know exactly what you're about to get yourself into, it is still one of Wario Land 2's defining features. All these years later, there still aren't many other games out there where you get to play basketball against a bunny, so you know, point to Wario. The game may be relatively easy, but it doesn't matter, man. It is so much fun exploring every nook and cranny and seeing everything Wario can transform into and seeing just what bosses around the next corner. It's awesome. Dude, Wario has a pet hen apparently. This is all character development, I swear, don't worry about it. Even the Super Game Boy functionality is cool. Not only do the color palettes shift to match the style of the level you're playing in, but the background often changes as well. And also, Wario Land 2 is one of those uncommon releases that not only had a gray cartridge, which stuck to the limited color palettes and Super Game Boy support, but also later on a black cartridge, which includes all of that, plus the full color style most of this footage has been in if played on a Game Boy Color. And really, either way you play it, this is just a great looking game. Ah man, Wario Land 2 is fantastic. Once again, the man in yellow knocks it out of the park, and it is easily one of the best platformers on the console. But then we got Wario Land 3. One day, while Wario is out for an airplane stroll over the woods, his vehicle runs out of fuel and crashes. And as we've established from the last game, he's immortal. He is just fine. And in a nearby cave, Wario discovers a mysterious music box that, upon inspection, sucks him into a brand new, weird world. And once inside, a hidden figure claiming to be that world's protector currently has his powers sealed. And only by finding 5 other music boxes can they be freed, and Wario can return to his world. And also he can keep any treasure he finds along the way. Yeah, go ahead and sign him up. Mechanically speaking, Wario plays exactly like he did in Game 2. He is more limited in his moveset at the start, but you do get all of those powers back and then some throughout the adventure. Not really sure how my guy forgot how to pick things up over his head, but hey, benefit of the doubt, you know, he did just survive a plane crash. There are a couple of new transformations as well. You can turn invisible, you can become a massive snowball, Dude, even a vampire that can swap into a bat with the push of a button, that one's really cool. Thanks to exclusively being a Game Boy Color game now with some extra horsepower, just a little bit, we have some extra frames of animation too. Check out Wario climbing a ladder now. Dude's packing, that's all I'm saying. But truly, what sets Wario Land 3 apart is it's actually an open-ended, nearly Metroidvania-like adventure. Seriously, each level, rather than having just a single treasure and exit, now has 4, most of which are inaccessible until you get a treasure or handful of treasures from other parts of the map. And yeah, having access to new abilities definitely does help, but what I find so damn cool about this is most of the treasures actually manipulate the environment and alter the landscape of multiple levels all at the same time. Not even including the fact that there is also a day-night system that also plays a role in what's accessible to you, as well as what enemies can pop up at any given time. And for the first hour or so of the adventure, things are incredibly linear. You're pointed in the right direction at all times and you have no real freedom. But even then though, like 2 of the earliest treasures you get are these colored tablets that come together to unlock a new level. That's so cool. Stuff like this happens on the entire journey. But before long, you start finding treasures that open up 3 or more paths at once. And then some of those new paths will do the same for even more paths, and eventually you have total freedom in what it is you want to do. And unlike most Metroid games where you simply have to remember where you have to use your new tools, you can always consult the hidden figure to point you in the right direction, allowing the game to move at a very fast pace. The exploration and the puzzle solving are what made Wario Land 2 so fun and engaging, but that is totally amplified to the nth degree here in Wario Land 3. Some of the pathways to treasures are short, like stupid only takes 30 seconds long to cross the bridge short, but the overall scope of this music box world still feels massive, especially for a Game Boy Color game. Any platformer that can contextualize what you're doing for the greater cause at every given moment is a fairly uncommon thing. But sure enough, leave it to Wario to truly be a masterclass of its form. They even brought the basketball bunny back for revenge, but this time he's playing soccer. Oh man, I love it, dude. That is top tier storytelling. There is this mini golf game that you have to do pretty often, and this part isn't really great, so it would have been nice to not rely on it so heavily for progression, but that is not enough to make this game anything less than fantastic. Besides, the whole mini golf thing is just you charging into an enemy long enough before he gets into the hole. This is totally the way Wario would want to play golf in the first place, so it's fine. I would have also liked to see Captain Syrup somehow get involved in the story. This is the first game in the series where she does not show up at all, but, you know, I guess this weird, freaky clown dude, Rudy, will suffice. Dude, why a clown? I hate this. But yeah, overall, Wario Land 3 is absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite platformers of all time, if I'm being 100% honest with you, just based on it blowing my expectations out of the water. The freedom of choice you have in some areas of Wario Land 2 are pretty cool, but to just have that in the entirety of Wario Land 3, God, it's so good. And oddly enough, Wario Land 3 is also the basis for the single-player mode in Dr. Mario 64 of all things. Here's a weird bit of trivia for you. The game goes for one of the tried-and-true multiplayer puzzle games with a single-player story mode thing, but here, all of the enemies are from Wario Land 3, even ending with Rudy the Clown. I'm not really sure if there was ever a time where people were really desperate for a Dr. Mario game with a story mode, especially one where Wario takes center stage a lot more than Mario does, but yeah, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Next up on the docket, the final numbered entry in the series, and arguably one of his best achievements, Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance. A much more basic premise this time around. Wario stumbles upon a huge golden pyramid, and thanks to a random black cat, okay, gets led down into the pyramid's insides. Now go ahead and jump on these weird frog things and go and find some treasure. Why a frog? I never really understood that part, but you know, this is a series where you don't ask questions, just take it as it is and find treasure. Once again, we're at another gameplay shift for the series. Exploration still plays a vital role, but things are a lot more linear than they were in 2 and 3. You still got some hidden unlockables to find, and there are still transformations to be found, but things in general do feel like a lot more of a traditional platformer. So where Wario Land 4 truly shines though, is in its much faster speed, not just in the game's pacing, but also in Wario's controls. You can just blaze through these levels at supersonic speeds now. Of which, by the way, the level designs are fantastic, taking the weird and all over the place level themes of previous games and crafting obstacles, gimmicks, and art styles that just feel really good to traverse through. You never know what's gonna happen next. Whoever designed the domino level here deserves a massive award, dude. This entire stage is you racing against a line of falling tiles, and combine that with the really fine-tuned controls, and it is so good. There's also this new concept where to progress down the path of the world that you're in, you gotta find the special key ghost thing in a stage, and you can only get out of that stage with it by finding the frog portal and then dashing all the way back to the vortex you came in on. Alright, so Wario's back to going through vortexes again. I guess Wario Blast does kind of show its influence, so I'll give it that. Sometimes you gotta go back through parts of the stages you came from, but sometimes brand new pathways will open up only when the time limit is ticking down, and it is always so exhilarating due to how well Wario controls. Sometimes you know what's coming up, sometimes you don't, and Wario can move really fast, but you never feel like you don't have control, and that is a very important thing that, of course, once again, Wario managed to nail. And also, yeah, the game now looks fantastic. The other games did look good, but the developers were clearly very excited with the possibilities of newer hardware here. Everything is just so colorful and vibrant, and then you get to the boss fights. Dude, what am I looking at? You know what's wild? All of these Wario Land games were developed in-house at Nintendo. Why are they always so sterile when it comes to the Mario universe? Clearly when it comes to Wario, all bets are off. What am I looking at here? And then you take a trip to the sound test menu and it's like, dude, Nintendo was clearly on that good garlic when making this one. Now, I actually think I have a bit of a hot take with this next one. Wario Land 4, fantastic game, no doubt whatsoever. But I think outside of the Virtual Boy game, this is probably my least favorite game in the series. If you're still watching the video, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Play control and the absurdity of it all is where this game shines the brightest, no doubt, and most people will agree with that. But honestly, I prefer the slower exploration of Wario Land 2 and 3 and the more grounded eeriness of the first game. The minigames are kind of better in this one, I guess, I will give it that. The wheel jumping one is where I used to spend a ton of time in as a kid. Just being off in the wild, empty desert with these weird things you're jumping over. Sure, any means to get some extra money in my wallet, why not? But otherwise, I don't know, they're just kind of okay. And you'd only really do them as a means to fund these items that you can get to take some health off of the bosses before the fight begins. But those fights were never really too difficult in the first place in my opinion, so it's more so just interesting seeing this knockoff Mr. Game & Watch do its thing more than anything else. No one explains why this guy is here, by the way, he just is, so enjoy it. This is also the shortest adventure yet, by the way. Clearly it was meant to have replay value to see how fast you can get through it, but while 2 and 3 probably take around 6 hours to fully complete, 4 only takes about 3. Not saying a short game can't be good, but I was definitely wanting more, and when it comes to the overall adventure, I definitely felt like it was lacking. The ending is pretty great though. Based on how much treasure you get on your adventure, the cat that you walked in with transforms back into her original form, a princess. But the form that she ends up taking is based on how many treasures that you've secured along the way. She's either a very slender and mature woman or a female Wario. Oh god, these games are cursed. Again, Wario Land 4 is still a great game, but its similar in style sequel and the current final game in the franchise, Wario Land Shake It, or the Shake Dimension in Europe, probably a better name, I think handles things much better. For one, this is the first time a Wario Land game was made by someone other than Nintendo. Here we have Good Feel. Yeah, the same Good Feel that would later on make Kirby's Epic Yarn, as well as Yoshi's Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World. This is where that team got their foot in the door, working on a Nintendo property. And they clearly wanted to leave an impact too, man. Look at Wario's butt. You thought he was packing before, but ooh, they definitely wanted to leave a lasting impression here, and that they did. As you can tell, the game also features a hand-drawn art style, even including a few actual anime cutscenes animated by the big animation studio, Production IG. There's not many of these cutscenes out there, but what's here is really cool, and definitely makes me want a full Wario cartoon. I've said it once, I will say it 1,000 times. Stylized graphics for a platformer I will take any day over the standard uninteresting 3D of something like New Super Mario Bros. That's an easy shot to make, I get it, but still, this game looks great. The evil Shake King has stolen the legendary treasure, the bottomless coin sack, as well as kidnapped and imprisoned most of the tribe of Murphles. And on top of that, their queen, Merelda. Is that a Song of Time reference? Huh. That's weird, okay. All of this takes place in the Shake dimension, which resides inside of the ancient globe that somehow makes its way into Wario's possession thanks to the returning Captain Syrup. Hey! I mean, okay, she's not a villain anymore. If anything, she randomly becomes your ally this time around, even though she definitely has ulterior motives, but hey, I'll take it. I am all for retro characters returning to the spotlight. This redesign is great. Put her right next to Pauline, man. If Pauline can show up in so many different games and play tennis and golf and whatnot, Captain Syrup should too. The sole remaining Merfolk is also here, and he explains the situation to Wario and begs for his assistance. And also mentions treasure. Wario is in. At this point, it had been 7 years between entries in this franchise, but even still, Shake It plays very similar to the games before it, following mostly in Land 4's footsteps, by having a strictly linear structure, as well as the return of the countdown feature at the end of mostly every level. You shake the container freeing the Merfolk, and then you gotta bust a move back to the start. And remember now, this is a Wii game we're talking about, you gotta get some Wii remote shaking going on here too. They did call the game Shake It for a reason. Those Europeans with the Shake Dimension title, oh, they must have been shocked that there was motion control in this game, they didn't know. Small price to pay for having a better title. One swift Wii remote shake and Wario will pound the ground with incredible force. Grab onto anything you like and shake the Wii remote a bunch to get every little bit out of it. And then when you're done, do a little bit of tilting to aim your throw so you can dispose of it like the trash it is. For core gameplay, I actually think all this stuff is fine. I would prefer an option for traditional controls. You know, it's the same reason that it sucks that Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii requires motion controls for movement options, but for what's here, it's fine. It's when they throw in these weird vehicle gimmicks like the flying rocket bucket and the underwater submarine that also use the tilt controls, but the entire time you're in them, yeah, that gets kind of annoying. Also, there's no widescreen in this game. Really? Mario Party 8 did the same thing. You know, okay, I get it, not everybody had a widescreen TV in 2008. Nintendo was very clearly going for the lowest common denominator at the time, but it's really weird they just slapped borders on the sides and called it a day. But overall, this is definitely the most traditional platformer in the series, lacking most, if not all, of the absurdity these games have been flourishing in up until this point. That being said, it's still really fun. The variety is definitely there. Combing through the levels for the 3 hidden treasures is really satisfying, and those little symbols on the left, well, every stage has a set of unique achievements to go for. Get through stages without taking damage, doing the time limit segments super quickly, and you got more specific ones like not taking damage only in the vehicles, or not touching the water in the jungle levels. All you get for doing all of the missions is a simple song in the sound test, so that really sucks, but this is one of those whole, it's about the journey, not the destination kind of things. You know how it is. A common complaint with Shake It was simply getting to the end credits was far too short, around 5 to 6 hours. A time limit that's more acceptable for a portable game, but when you move to console, sure, some people wanted a little more. But for me, there is so much more gameplay time in trying to go for all the treasures, completing all the missions, and finding the hidden levels, which actually have unlockable maps that are accessible from the start of the game, but become easier to find after beating the final boss, who, just like I said with Wario's first boss encounter in Mario Land 2, uses the techniques that you also have access to, which is awesome. The music is fantastic, like it may not have that strong of a Wario vibe like the eeriness of the other games, but the stuff here is still really good. The soundtrack is super underappreciated, dude. Mount Lava Lava, oh, that track is a jam. Dude, even the marketing for this game was super cool. There used to be this very specific YouTube ad spot where if a shake happened in the gameplay, the entire UI would fall apart, and you would actually get to throw it around the screen. That was so damn cool, dude. This is one of the best advertisement spots I've ever seen. Yeah, man. I love this game. It's not Good Feel's best. Epic Yarn and Woolly World are definitely where that company did its best work yet, but the fact that Nintendo trusted this relatively unknown company with Wario Land, and regardless of its financial success, did a great job with it, is something I will always appreciate. Should have put Wario's big butt on the back of the box. That would have sold a few more copies, I think. Over the years, as Nintendo has pumped out Mario games with relatively uninspired stories, bosses, power-ups, etc., you name it, they got it. Or, you know, they don't got it, and you see people all over complaining about it. Ah, come on, Nintendo, just do something original for once. Well, I agree with Mario, but Nintendo was actually doing all of that wacky original stuff this whole time, just with Wario instead. This disgusting garlic-scented dude with surprisingly good dental status has been the key the whole time. Those who have already played these games already know this, but if this is your first exposure to Wario, by all means, pick any of these games up and get started. You're gonna have a great time. If you're a fan of ROM hacking, well, it's also worth noting that Wario Land 2, 3, and 4 currently have one full-blown ROM hack each, with entirely new level designs to go through. If you're into that sort of thing, go check them out. They're all on the romhacking.net website. You're bound to have a good time. And also check out Pizza Tower and Anton Ball Deluxe if you want to see what happens when indie developers use a little bit of that Wario Land influence for good. Gotta respect the devs with impeccable taste. Unfortunately though, at this current time, this is the end of the series. We have 6 great platformers, all quality for very different reasons, and I highly recommend every single one of them. They do not get the love and respect they deserve. That is an obvious fact. But boy, if you thought we were done, you thought I was gonna forget about these? Of course, there was a 7-year gap in between Wario Land 4 and Shake It, but Wario himself, he was certainly not sitting on the sidelines. Not only at this time was his video game creator career starting to take off with WarioWare, donning a sweet new outfit and motorcycle on top of that, but we were also treated to 2 more platforming adventures, Wario World for the GameCube and Wario Master of Disguise for the DS. Oh man. Hey, what if we took some of the absurdity of Wario Land 4 and made it 3D? Wario got a 3D platformer before Kirby did. That is a weird realization, considering Wario can also just do a Kirby inhale for some reason in this game. That makes it sting even more. Let's start talking about Wario World. This adventure was brought to us by Treasure. What? Okay, you got Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Heady, Sin and Punishment, Mischief Makers, and this? Oh, okay, damn, what a weird crossover. Well, actually, you know what? If you played any of Treasure's beat-em-ups in the past, this actually does have a fairly similar vibe. Instead of exploration being the main focus here, bombastic combat actually takes the center stage. There is some platforming to be done, but mostly you'll be throwing some punches, spinning enemies to your heart's content, pulling out sick pile drivers, dude. Wario is out for blood now. And this time you're on a quest to save a bunch of spritlings and take down an evil black jewel. Who cares? Reject heroism. Become vacuum. Ooh, and the pause screen though. Yeah, that's a jam. That's a jam right there. Oh, thank goodness, that's good to see. The manual gives us an insight into Wario's inner workings. Thanks. To be honest though, as neat as all of this is, the game is actually pretty dull and tedious. The visuals are very nice and appealing, the music is pretty solid too, and boy, when you get to those boss fights, oh man, why is every boss here out of a fever dream, man? I'm pretty sure my sleep patterns have never been the same ever since I fought this weird baby cherub doll thing. I'm so confused about some of these Wario bosses, man. You got the thing in Wario Land 4, you got this thing. There are very clearly no rules here. That's not even a joke. They just don't care. But the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is generally pretty bland. You push forward, you keep mashing the attack button when necessary. There is some, and I emphasize some, exploration required to get treasures, but they squeezed 8 treasures and 5 spritlings into every stage, and those stages are pretty small, so considering the size, you are bound to walk into most of these things just by pressing forward. And speaking of, there are only 8 stages. 8. You know, I didn't really think having a short adventure was that big of a deal for Shake It, but here, there's just not much to dive into, man, I gotta tell you. Wario World is good. It is a good game, and a relatively decent effort to bring Wario into the 3rd dimension, but meh. One of Treasure's weakest works, if I'm being honest. Still better than Master of Disguise, though! I have said in passing before that I think this game blows, and a few people have actually taken issue with that over the years. Fine, you know what, fair enough. This was finally my chance to give the game another shot. I owed it to the fans out there who genuinely thought I was misspeaking about this game. Surely, Suzak Inc., that's a company I've never heard of before, must have been doing something good here. One day, while Wario is doing his daily nose-picking, watches a TV show featuring the master thief, Count Cannoli. In extreme jealousy for the fact that this thief can get treasure while he's just sitting on his couch, Wario decides to invent a helmet that allows him to enter the TV. What? Oh, okay. Upon making it into the TV world, he gains control of Count Cannoli's special wand, Good Style. And from there, your quest to become a master thief far better than Count Cannoli could ever be by collecting pieces of the infamous Wish Stone begins. And hey, you know what? This is actually kind of Metroidvania-ish in style. For real this time. Look at the map. See, I'm not lying to you. Oh, okay, that's kind of neat. All of these levels have these treasure chests all over the place. And every time you get into one, you gotta do a really monotonous touchscreen game to get access to the treasure, and there are so many of these. They are so boring, dude. It wouldn't be that big of a deal if it was only like one treasure game like you had in Wario Land 2, but there are so many of these in every single level. This sucks. Oh, okay, you see, I thought you had to at least get kinda close with filling in the colors to get this one completed, but turns out no, the game doesn't care either, so why should I? Okay, but what if you're a fan of the exploration gameplay? Well, it turns out Wario has access to a bunch of brand new disguises to help traverse these locations. Cool! And you transform into one of them by drawing a symbol on Wario's body while you're also having your left hand on the D-pad so you can move, and you have the touchscreen at the same time while you're moving. Oh my god, this sucks! This is not a platformer, man. This is a thinly, and I mean thinly veiled, Metroidvania, just meant to force touch controls on you at any given moment without actually providing substance. It looks ugly, the soundtrack is really forgettable, the new characters are super lame. If you're nostalgic for Master of Disguise, more power to you, and I apologize for upsetting you, but to me, this is one of the worst platformers Nintendo's ever pumped out. What were they trying to accomplish with this? They got a no-name company to take Wario and not even do a Wario Land game. Just, hey, Wario's in a 2D platformer again. Cool, hope you like the touchscreen. A ludicrous dip in quality when you remember just how good the Wario Land games still are. You know what? It's actually good this game doesn't use the Land title. It would besmirch the entire series. But okay, if I'm too harsh here, let me end things with one very positive note. Thanks to Wario Master of Disguise, we have a canonical instance of Wario saying the word boob. And that is the moral of today's story. If you look hard enough, you can find the bright side in anything.